This is the best. I seriously think this is one of the best game trailers of all time. Up there with like.
In a land of mighty kingdoms, new threats emerge. Ancient alliances are reforged, and an unexplored world awaits. Blizzard Entertainment proudly invites you to experience Warcraft from a whole new perspective. Stake your claim. Live the legend. A world awaits. The world of Warcraft.
And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the stream. My name is Kargoz. The date is January 6th, 2020. We're living in a new decade. You love to see it. Or maybe you don't. I'm joined today by a good, longtime friend of the channel, my man, Lester. Can you hear me all right, my man?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine.
You know how we do over at Kargoz Gaming. Very scuffed starts of the streams usually. So I'm hoping everything is stable, everything is good. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. It is an absolute pleasure to have you back on, Lestor, and I am very excited to tap into that very large brain of yours. How is life going for you, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm seriously, I'm having a blast playing Classic. You know, just living life. And this is exactly what we've been waiting for, and this is what we got, and I couldn't be happier.
Right? You look happy. You look like a happy guy. Is that weird to say?
Right?
He looks like a happy dude.
It's such a good mood. Just
he's got the flannel on. He's got the man bun. Yo, you and Egregious would love it. I
know. I seen him. I got that same fit as him right now.
Yep. So for those of you guys who don't know who Lestor is, you know, of course he's a homie, but more so than that, he is a very experienced Paladin. He has played on many private series. He's also a young blood, one of the youngest bloods in the game. 20, right?
I'm 20, yeah. Just turned 20 back in September. But don't get it wrong, I did play original Classic on my dad's account. I had a level 52 Undead Warrior.
You said your pops was the original Lestor, and that
he was the original
rated.
He rated back in Classic, and I played on his account. He still plays to this day. He's a cool guy. He's always played. Been like a thing for me and him. So
guys, you know we're getting ate up, dude. Old news, chopped liver, ancient history. When the sons of Vanilla WoW players are playing again. So yeah, I turned 29 in December, Lester. I'm having like a midlife crisis or whatever you want to call it. You know, I never envisioned myself as a 30-year-old, and now I have less than 1 full year before I'm all ate up. Shop news, straight boomer mode. So I'm over here trying to make the best of it. Straight boomer mode.
Straight boomer right there.
So Lestor, large brain. Experienced Paladin, played on a lot of private servers a couple times.
Just a couple.
Helped me with the original Paladin leveling guide. He was a very critical piece. Pretty much, he pretty much made the guide with me, man. I'm just there taking notes. Like, all right, man, what's next? But anyways, Lester, could you, from your perspective, give the people, your kind of track record with Paladin, your history with Paladin?
My Paladin. Okay, yes. So I had a character on Nost, right? I leveled like to level 30, 40. Quit Nost, Elysium, on the Elysium relaunch, I made my version of Lestor. Human female Paladin. Played her for more time than I would care to admit on Elysium, Darrowshire, Lightbringer. Played every spec, had all the gear, farmed Nax, progression through every raid, all Paladin. I pretty much never made an alt.
Wait, so you played Elysium? Did you play Kronos at all? Or what did you play Nost at all?
I played a little bit of Nost, but I never took it real serious, just very casual leveling there. Mm-hmm. And then when Elysium launched, I was like, okay, I'm going to give this all my attention and really give this a good whack. So
when I first met up with you, you were like, yeah, I need like 2 pieces and then I'm full abyss out of the entire game. And I was like, what? I was like, did you have Thunder Fury and everything too?
I had I had Thunder Fury on private servers on my Paladin. Dude. Full prot bis. Ashbringer, that was a good pick.
Ashbringer, the dream.
I know.
The juiciest.
That's that end game. You gotta have that end game vision for that. So
my man was playing Paladin with a Thunder Fury, man. That is the childhood dream of so many.
But don't get it wrong. I was a holy main. I still heal. I got some good logs up there. So
yeah, big pumper, all pinks, right? Last time I checked,
I could look. I'm pretty sure I got all pinks on Warcraft logs. So okay, no hundreds yet. No hundreds yet. But
no hundreds. Clearly a big brain though. So tell me, how has Classic been for you so far? Has it how's the guild doing? You guys clearing stuff? You doing MC? What server you playing on too? Server. Show some Herod. Okay.
Herod. That's the server to be on right now.
That's the server to be.
Yeah, dude. You
sure it's not Bloodsail Buccaneers US East RP PvE server?
Ooh. I mean, that's probably a close second, but I still think I'm sticking with Herod now today. So
that's funny, man. Oh, well, anyway, how's it been with Classic? Your Paladin's, is he pretty stacked right now?
I don't even think I told you. I got a Hand of Rag a few weeks ago.
Stop, dude. You got a Hand of Rag? Stop.
Yeah, I've actually had it for like a month now, probably, but.
Oh
yeah, dude. I cannot be happier. We did a great, first week we did the group leveling, got to 60 first week, second lockout clear MC. That was the server second.
Yo, you're only 10 in the world, bro. Zaruma says you're only 10 in the world. That's trash compared to.
Oh my, Zaruma.
Trash.
Trash. This is a paladin in my rate. Zaruma, you're loop banned next. You're loop banned on Tuesday for that.
Lester's also the main, admin, owner, whatever, of the Paladin Discord, so you probably just see his name. It's great to have you here, man. It's so great to hear. I just recently earned my wings as a Paladin, legit Paladin level 60. Major pog for that. Got him on the Bloodsail Buccaneer server. So it is. I'm like you said, man. I'm fresh off the press, man. It's all so crispy in my mind. The leveling experience is in my mind. So hopefully I can contribute more on that front. Pretty much, yeah. So
no, absolutely. I'm excited to get into it.
I'm very excited to get into it. So there's a lot to talk about, guys. We'll do our best. We may put our foot in our mouths. You guys already know. I put my foot in my mouth every couple sentences, so you're used to it by now. So we're gonna show you what the. Thank you everybody for being here today. It's a lovely Monday. Is it Monday? It's Monday. You guys, anybody have a case of the Mondays out there, dude? Everyone said people back at work. Oh, this is probably the first Monday people are back at work. They're stressing right now. I can tell.
Yeah, after the New Year, this is like the first serious Monday.
Yeah, this is the real Monday, dude. This is a real freaking hard hitting Monday right now. They got the whole week to go, dude. F's in the chat, please, for all our battle buddies out there. Have a whole new work week, whole new year. Anyway. So, thank you for tuning in, guys. This will eventually be edited down into a VOD that you can watch over again after today's broadcast is over. But the goal of this session is to revamp, revise, improve upon my old Paladin leveling guide and make it better with some fresh information that's updated for Classic and to be as just comprehensive as possible, because Paladin is a really, really fun class, and it's also a class that people oftentimes think is really not fun. If I look back and I look at my original, it's my most successful video, I think, how to pick a class for Paladin. I went into great detail with every class, talking about how awesome it was. Then the Paladin section was 30 seconds, and I look back on that and I cringe, because there is so much to love with Paladin, so much to love with hybrids in general. People often talk about the hybrid tax, that because hybrids are able to do a lot of different things in the game, that they're taxed, they're penalized for that. I kind of look at it as a hybrid bonus, man. That's the way I've been looking at it. I love the way hybrids perform in vanilla, but we'll get into that in a minute. So today's agenda, we're introducing ourselves as we speak. We're going to talk about, why leveling is important, why level a Paladin, what's there to love, what's there not to love. We're going to talk about stats in your Paladin. We're just going to bang them out. There's so many implications to each stat. When you're dealing with hybrids, each stat is just more impactful. As a Warlock, I had a much more straightforward time looking at the stat weights and how do I pump harder. This is a whole different beast, especially when you're dealing with tank itemization, which is something I'm doing right now. We're going to talk about talents, deep dive. We're going to be banging them out. Each talent, pretty much for every class in the game. It's not just Paladin. You go through each talent in a tree. You could talk for 20 minutes about that, and all the different reverberations of choosing that talent or not choosing that talent. General strategy, 1 to 30, 30, 40, 40 to 60, so on and so forth. Tips and tricks, weapon progression, AoE grinding, tanking tips, healing tips, DPS tips, anything else you guys can think of to put it in the chat. This is an interactive guide, and if we're leaving something out, we're going to blame you guys. No, I'm joking, but okay. So, are you ready to start, man? Ready to do this?
Hey, man, I'm ready to go. And like you said, if anybody got questions, we'll do our best to answer them. So don't be afraid to ask, and then hopefully we'll pick them up from chat. But I think we're ready to go. Yes,
ready to go. I'm hyped, dude. Look how much LaCroix water I have, dude.
Oh my gosh.
I'm straight San Francisco right now. This is what we drink here. Oh man. I'm doing this intermittent fasting, Lestor, so I can only eat once a day. So I just spam LaCroix water all day because that's all I can do. Because it doesn't.
LaCroix water that's 55 mage water right there. It's strong.
This is that 55 Dire Maul water. Absolutely, absolutely. That was the most huge thing ever. Getting that water for the first time. Get 55. Okay. Anyway,
it's a game changer.
Game changer. Okay, let's talk about why focus on leveling. This is something that I want to chime in a little bit more on. Mm-hmm. So people say it's just a leveling guide. It was just leveling, man. Why do you care about leveling? First of all, leveling is a legit bucket of content in the game. It's a lot of fun. For those of the people who have rushed through the content and spell cleaved the whole way, they probably had a good time doing that. I did that twice over, but there was something not there. I really think Classic WoW is at its peak when we're talking with leveling. When you're solo leveling out in the world by yourself or duo leveling, it is just very, very fun. But moreover than that, leveling is a really good way to build good fundamentals with your class. So if you level and you're just unfocused, you don't know how your class interacts with stats, and you're just kind of choosing gear based on color and whatever, first of all, you're not going to be into your character as much. You're not going to build good fundamentals. Your keybinds are going to be all wonky and jacked up and all over the place, going to look like a soup sandwich, and you're going to have bad habits forming all over the place, right? So if you get some good guidance from day zero before you go into it, you're probably going to feel more motivated. And here's another thing about leveling, right? Here's the thing about leveling, guys. When you feel like you're in control of your character and you know what to do, you know what's next, you know what weapon you're going to do next, you know what dungeon you're going to do next, you feel you're having more fun, right? You're having more fun. If you're sitting there looting ambercorns in Stone Talon Mountains and you don't even know what's going on, and you're lost in the sauce, like that's gonna be a bad, uninteractive gameplay experience. You're not gonna be having a good time. So talking about this, giving you the guidance, hopefully it's gonna hype you up and you'll be like, yo, I want to try Paladin. Paladin looks mad fun. I
think one of the main things that you pointed out there is keybinds. I think keybinds are really important to start early. Because you see a lot of people, the high-level players, they're talking about using Alt, Control, Shift, modifiers and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think even at low levels, that's still really important to get used to while you're leveling, and get used to those keybinds. Because at max level, it's in your head. You already know. So I think that's one of the most
coming up with a good system for all of your blessings, for all of your auras, being forward thinking about what you're gonna get and set yourself up so it's gonna look clean. Because if you have an binds that don't look organized and stuff, you're gonna be playing worse, man. Like you're gonna be feeling weird about things. Like you're just gonna be feeling slightly frustrated all the times. I need to make a better effort with inventory management too, because my inventory is all kinds of jacked up. Like you want to keep it all organized. But anyway, leveling. Enough about that. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Why level a Paladin? I'm going to stop talking so much. Lestor, when you think about the Paladin, you love the class. You're an enthusiast. You're passionate about the class.
Sir.
What is there to love? What is the juiciest stuff that comes to mind that you love about Paladin, man?
What is the nicest? I think the flexibility. I've always, like I said, I've played tons and tons of different, off specs, and I've tanked in raids, and I think the flexibility for me is the most important thing right there. That third point. Can tank, heal, DPS as any spec. I think that's the number one thing for me. It's just I can do whatever I want. I can go into raids, I can heal, I can be a top performer, or I can come out and, do solo play, do dungeons. Oh shit, Kazak just spawned. Hold on.
Kazak is spawned. That's right. Go ahead, multitask.
This is happening live.
My man's Kazak such a big pumper. Spawned. He's gonna be killing Kazak while doing this live guide, guys.
This is it. Go. So that's for me. That's the number one thing. It's just, being able to come up any day and swap it up. You can respec. You can pick two specs at the same time. You can mix and match. Holy Prot, Reckoning Ret. Like there's just so many different ways that you can experience the class. I think that and that's only something you can find maybe else on druids, and with druids it's a whole different experience. Because
druid, you're like just a cat, you're a bear, bro. There's nothing to look at. Like it's not as flashy when you're sitting there.
You're funneled into one. But for paladins, you can tank and you can be healing yourself while you're AoEing, or you can deal damage and help support the raid. Just all kinds of mix and match you can do. So I think for me that's the number one thing. But there's, we could talk about all day about what makes the Paladin unique, and just them being also on there, the best support class in the game.
True.
Easily.
Facts.
Blessings.
Facts.
Auras.
I'm sorry, all my shamans, dude. F's for the shamans, bro. They're the best support class in the game.
Guys.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It does not come close.
Yeah. No contest.
The survivability that you have, and the utility that you have, and just the tools that you bring to the table in PvP and PvE, yes, but specifically in PvP, you're just a notch above the rest.
Dude, whenever I see a Paladin solo, as a Warlock, I'm like, ooh, that's looking like a tasty snack right there. I'm gonna go and scoop that up real quick. I see a Paladin with any other class in the game beside the Paladin, and I'm like, hard pass, dude. I'm not. Paladins just have so much gas, dude. There's so much sustain, so many hard resets, like. Okay, what's highlighted in green, if you guys can see it, I know it's kind of small text, and I know this is kind of niche maybe to you guys, but for some reason, this just tickles my fancy so vigorously. It's just such a vigorous tickle. Like, only class in the game that can tank while healing itself. I'm telling you, man. I'm usually the guy in the dungeon. If you guys have done dungeons with me, played in the game, I'm always trying to, like, keep making the group go faster and faster. I keep wanting to, like, keep pumping and stuff, and when I'm tanking right now, I'm able to pretty much just solo a lot of this stuff. Like, I'm not waiting around for anybody, man. I'll just go engage the next couple packs and just be healing myself the whole time. And, like, you can just drive the needle forward doing anything with your group, man. As a Warlock, I've never felt stronger in vanilla. That still holds true. I've never felt stronger than playing a Warlock. But what's true with Paladin is I've never felt more useful in my goddamn life than playing a Paladin in vanilla. You feel so freaking useful. It's pretty unbelievable, man. Like, the whole idea of throwing up Blessing of Light and just becoming a healer all of a sudden. You can tank as Ret. It's really not a boring class. And unlike Druid, where you're just sitting in the cat form, shout out the Druids. Druids are great. I'll level a Druid too. But you still get to deal with the juicy spell damage stats, right? You get to get the juicy spell damage stats. You also get to get all the juicy, attack power and strength, and you get to wield cool weapons and get to see that visual weapon upgrade, which adds to your quality of life while leveling. When you get a big slapper, two-hander, smites, and mighty hammer, that makes you motivated, right? You want to play more. You want to go slap something around. If you're a druid and you get the next rank of Maul, it's just not quite the same effect, So Paladin, dude, it's so flashy too. It's such a flashy class. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they get into the mindset, the stereotypical like, oh, it's just auto attacking, it's just sealing. But there's so many intricacies that you can do. It's about your overall speed. You talk about mana management, which is huge. Talking about healing yourself, which blessing to choose. Talking about your auto attack timing. That's big with your judgments and your hammers and getting the most out of every single seal and judge that you do. I think there's a lot more smaller details that people don't see when it comes to really pushing the class fast until you play a Paladin.
It's so true. And just like
especially with AoE grinding, it takes it to it's a whole different
grinding. I love AoE grinding so much.
Grinding.
It's so fun. I'm doing the AoE grinding. I'm having the time of my life right now, Lester. Like, it is so fun building a reflect set. You get to do all of that, right? There's so many ways to play a Paladin. Man, it's kind of unbelievable, man. I don't know. You guys just got to try it. Just like on Warlock, you have so many different abilities, right? You even have all the pet abilities. You have such this huge plethora of abilities. Paladin's kind of the same way. I see a lot of parallels between Paladin and Warlock. Even stuff like Turn Undead, Exorcism, Holy Wrath, Bop, your bubble, all the different auras. You can play the Paladin serviceably well using a couple skills, but to play it at a high level, there's so much to sink your teeth into, man. And it is really so much fun.
Yeah, so just their ability to do kind of everything, and more uniquely than either a shaman or a druid could, and the utility and just the complexity when you really look down to it. I think those are, if you're asking yourself, I'm still trying to decide on a class, I don't know what to play yet. If you're looking for something that you can really refine your gameplay on and just get down to the little minute details, I think Paladin is a choice for you. It's a nice steady time, but you can really min-max it.
You always can find a group, guys, by the way, too, as a Paladin. At least for me,
you can always find a group.
You find a group instantaneously, and people think you're like, God's greatest gift to Earth. Like when you join the group, like it's so much impact when you have a Paladin in the group.
Because they get, if they're a melee, they get a huge AP bonus. If they're a caster, they get more MP5 than they probably have on the rest of their gear while they're leveling. And then you offer a nice aura for the tank, or like if there's a lot of casters in the dungeon, you can throw on fire or shadow aura.
Different blessings, different auras, different judgments on the mob, right? You can judge light, you can judge wisdom, you can judge crusader, you can judge justice. Justice, so good. Like I'm doing dungeons right now, and it hurts my soul when people don't burst down or stun running humanoids, bro. It hurts my soul, man. That's one of the number one ways to wipe. Warlocks, you need to be putting up Curse of Recklessness. If you're a Paladin, put Justice on him, save your Hodge, whatever it is. That's how you wipe in these dungeons when the mob runs off into two other packs and you pull everything and you're like at third health. So that the seal of Justice, when you judge it, it's that it prevents them from fleeing. Yeah,
it's the seal that nobody even remembers. But again, that's one of those things. When you really get down to it, everything has a use, and you can use your tools correctly. It's just when you really play it at the max, then you can speed up any group. You have so much utility to offer to anybody.
So much utility. Tanking as a Paladin, too. This is kind of a more selfish point there, but this is just one of the most glorious experiences in the game. Tanking with Righteous Fury, with Consecrate. And I want you guys to visualize this, because if you haven't played a Paladin before, I really want to drive this point home. You can tank, but also simultaneously heal yourself while tanking.
Yes, sir.
A druid cannot do this. You might think a druid can do this. No.
They can roll hots, but once those wear off,
you're not popping out of bear form. You're gonna get wabapped. Like, it's just not happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, a paladin can sit there and while tanking at like 85% potential, not only heal themselves, but heal other members of the group, bop someone else in the group, chuck a grenade, do one of 9 impactful things, hodge something. Like, once you're able to tank and heal, and you're applying some damage, like, you're like 75% of the way there. Like, this is the only class that can do that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
This is the only class that can do that. It's one of my favorites. So also AoE grinding, very, very fun. They also have access to the best gold farming method in the game. I know this is going to be an unpopular, or not unpopular, maybe controversial opinion, but when I say that, what's the best gold power right now, guys? Let me ask the chat right now.
Oh, this is a good question. This is a good question. Everyone, what's the best?
Solo.
What's
Solo.
The best
Don't say MC, Pug, Trash Farm, or whatever. Solo, gold farm. What's the best one right now? Let's see. Let's see what the chat has to say. Boosting dungeons? Nah, man. We'll see who gets it.
It's not bad. That's not bad. That's up there. If you can get people in your dungeons, that's pretty good. But
think so?
We're not there yet.
Nah, not Hearthglade. I'll save the time because it's supposed to be a guide afterwards. But it's Dire Maul East, 5x an hour, solo getting the thorium, right? So that farm, 70%. We calculated it because I was like arguing back and forth, and I ended up kind of losing the argument. But the thing about Dire Maul East is about 70% of that income is not coming from herbs. It's coming from what? It's coming from gems. It's coming from blue sapphire. It's coming from arcane crystal. It's coming from Azeroth diamond. It's coming all that, right? So
yes,
Paladin,
those crystals, man.
I didn't know this until the other day. Paladin can solo Dire Maul East.
Preach.
That is insane. Tell me that's not insane. Where are all the salty mages in the chat right now that can't farm as efficiently as a paladin? That has got to be kind of a crazy, controversial point right now, right? You can solo Dire Maul East as a paladin. How do you do it? With exorcism, man. Yeah, you sit there and you start finessing the LOS and you slowly chip the bosses down. You can skip Hydra spawn. You go straight to the second guy. You kill him with exorcism. And then the third guy, you just got to get him to 50%, which you can do just by working the LOS with exorcism. And then you just go glitch him out and you get the thorium. So Paladin can farm more gold than a mage is confirmed. You heard it here first, folks. I mean, maybe some of you have heard that already. That's crazy, right? So you can actually farm. I mean, I don't think I can do it on my current Paladin because I don't have enough like MP5. I have all these prot stats. I don't think I could do it personally. You have to kind of itemize for it a little bit. But this is the type of stuff. There's a lot of things. Also, leveling as a Paladin, more fun than you might think, and we'll be getting into that more. But we're talking about 60 stuff. So anyway. We could probably go on and on about this slide for like another hour on why to level a paladin because there's so much fun stuff about the class. Is that fair? We could talk about that for another hour. But
no, I could sit here all day talking about it. Yes,
talking about it, right? There's so much. You just got to get out there and try it. Okay. So the next thing that's a little bit more, stimulating maybe is stats for your paladin. Okay.
Yes.
Stats for your paladin. So we're talking strength, agi, not only just the main ones, strength, agi, stam, armor, intellect, spirit, but like stuff like spell damage, healing up when it's a little bit overwhelming to start, but take us through from your perspective. I mean, do we real basic, and then we can go a little more advanced.
Okay, so we'll just start at the top of the list as we got on the screen. So strength, just how you would expect it. You get attack power per strength, and then
2 AP, right?
Power,
2
AP per.
Yep.
And then the usual formula that people use is 14 AP equals 1 DPS. That's the usual formula that you'll see around. So I think that's kind of pretty basic. Everybody knows strength. So just in your head, when you see strength, you're going to think white damage increase for Paladin. But that also means Seal of Command damage increase, because Seal of Command scales off of your white damage when you hit. So this isn't just a white damage hit for Paladins, it's also a yellow damage Seal of Command increase. So this is a good double dip bonus for your damage while you're playing like traditional red. So then we go into Agi next. Agi, it's going to give you obviously a ranged attack power, but that's not what we're working with here. So the main thing that we look for Agi for Paladins is the crit. So as you get to that 25-point talent, Vengeance, especially into the end game, but still while you're leveling, a good crit is very good damage, and it gives you that Vengeance buff, that 15% increased damage for a short while. So lots of Agi is still really, really good for Paladins. And there's also, you know, the dodge and the armor that comes with it.
It's
and that's
one
also
armor. I
super
learned the other day. Per agi
Oh, yeah.
is one armor. It's not that much armor though. It's not that much armor.
Most people don't even know that agility gives you armor. One armor per point.
Not that much though. If you think about it, that's really not that much.
Little known fact. Yeah,
I
very
mean,
influential. But
oh wait. Some classes get 2 though. Wait, hold on. 2 armor per agility on this. Someone in the chat's gonna know. Someone's in the chat's gonna know. So maybe some classes get 2 armor per agility. Anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
You get you get some amount of armor from agility. Keep it in mind. You can calculate it yourself. Throw on stuff with agi and see it.
Just a tiny amount. If you're taking that into consideration, if you're looking at like armor values, it could be a small bonus. But
so agi per crit, 20 agi per crit, 20 agi per dodge.
And 20 agi per dodge as well. Yes.
For me as a tank, I'm looking at this big time. Yeah.
Yeah, at high levels, stacking agility is just as important as, you know, agility for a warrior, because crit equals threat, but agi also equals, you know, dodge, and stacking dodge and stacking avoidance. That's going to be one of the best ways. One of the best ways to really build your mitigation as a paladin. Instead of having to rely on, you know, heavy defense sets, you can build dodge and parry, especially parry, but dodge and parry and your block percentages. Those can really help you with your damage mitigation. So I think for me, agility for tanks, very important, and for ret, even more important. While you're leveling, it's very good to have some agility. A lot of people, they'll just go with the strength stamina pieces, but you have to find that balance of having enough crit and enough attack power, because if you scale with one but you're not working with the other, you're just going to be lopsided and you're not going to perform as well.
So you say balance, and I really think that's the key word here, Lestor, because you're playing a hybrid class and there's so many pieces to this puzzle, right? So if you go if you stack too much in one direction, you can see you can potentially be in a bad spot too. Like for me, for example, like me just tanking on my Paladin, I think I finally reached that line in the sand where I stacked a little bit too much strength and agi and stuff, where my mana is feeling very sketchy mana pool, right? So you have to balance it as a hybrid, and that's why it's cool, because you can sink your teeth into this and find that perfect equilibrium that suits your specific guy, right? And I don't think there's any one clear-cut 100% right answer. I don't know with finding that perfect balance.
This is why most people consider, and even if you don't know this is why most people consider T2 and 2.5 to be the best sets in the game for paladins. They come with all of the stats. They come with lots of armor, lots of stam. They have agility on them. They have intellect on them. You can use them as a, you know, utility healer or tanker, like Kargoz was talking about, or you can use them for traditional ret, because some of the pieces have crit on them in 2.5, and they still have all the stats that you're looking for. So it's about being balanced, and not as much about being full attack power or full spell power. Sometimes that hybrid, or, you know, that mix is going to be better instead of just stacking straight one way.
And the
same thing goes while leveling.
Before our stream, you talked about armor, and you said that you think armor is underrated. What do you think? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I'll skip. Okay, so real quick, stamina, pretty basic. Everybody knows stamina gives 10 health per point. So stamina is still really good while leveling, because this allows you to, you know, move from mob to mob and have less periods where you have to stop and heal up or drink up and eat. But having some stamina is good, but it's not like the most important stat that you're going to.
You're right. My bad for skipping stamina. Something as simple as stamina, guys. Think about this, right? As simple and brain dead as stamina, 10 health, right? There's still a lot to potentially talk about there, right? So with stamina, it's just going to be raw chunkiness, right? So each armor will make your stamina harder to chew through if you're dealing physical. But if you're you know, taking magical damage or something, the armor is going to have zero impact, right? The other thing is you know, you need a certain minimum level of stamina to survive the engagement that you're in right now, right? If you're doing massive AoE pulls in a dungeon, stacking just a critical amount of stamina to get that base level of stamina is oftentimes, you know, the most important thing, right? But
absolutely, it's about finding. It's about finding like what works for you. You know, while you're leveling, do you want to be doing those big pulls, get a lot of stamina, a lot of intellect, being able to heal yourself, or are you trying to, you know, push the single target DPS? So it is about like kind of knowing what to pick and choose and being able to pick it correctly. But into the next point, being able to pick the right stat, you have to sometimes look at armor. I think, as I was talking to Kargoz before the stream, I think armor is the most underrated stat while leveling, and even into the end game for some tanks. If you I've always said red aura is very, very good, but for the early levels for Paladin, devotion aura is not even joking. Devotion aura is one of the best auras that you can pick. Yep. Clicking devotion aura as you're under level 20, under level 25, that's
5% damage increase,
8% damage reduction, just
damage,
by clicking devotion aura. That means you get an extra, you'll survive an extra hit or two. Every single time that you fight a mob, you're taking an auto or two less of damage.
These are the type of things, too, that you have to, like, play a pally and feel it out. So much is feel, too. You can read a guide. Like, when I made the pally guide with Lester a year ago, that wasn't based on feel so much as it was just trying to be logical about stuff. When you actually play the Paladin and get out there, you're going to see what he's saying. Back in the day, he was saying use level with Devo Aura. I was leveling with Red Aura because I wanted to push damage. But this time around, it definitely felt way better in practice to use Devo Aura while leveling in those early levels, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think armor, just absolutely one of the most underrated stats. Like, I mean, obviously you're not going to be running around with all cloth gear on, but if you're really looking to do those big AoE pulls and like really chain together single target pulls, if that's how, depending on which style you want to do, having good armor and good damage reduction, that allows you to just move into the next pull faster and more efficiently. You come out of the current pull with more health, and you can just go right into the next one. So I think armor is something that people really need to start looking at when they're trying to, AoE farm, and it's just like an endgame raid. Like, if you have good armor and good stamina and good int, like, as a tank, you need those raw stats. So having enough of those is just as important as having enough strength and enough agility to good DPS. Definitely.
Absolutely. One of the most underrated stats, I would agree. What do you think about intellect?
So this one's always tricky. People ask me, should I focus on intellect gear or should I focus on like healing gear? Specifically for healers first, I think while you're leveling, you shouldn't really mind spell power. Spell power is not going to do enough for you. The raw healing count that you're going to be looking for while healing dungeons or healing yourself, you're going to find more value out of intellect and being able to cast more instead of being able to cast strong. So while if you're in a healing dungeon group, you just need to stack as much intellect and as much spirit as you can. Those are going to be your main stats while healing. But even while you're doing ret or protection, if you're leveling by yourself or if you're a tank in the group, having enough intellect to get through the pull just is the same logic as stamina. You want to have enough health to make it through the pull. You want to have enough mana to make it through the pull. If you're running out of mana every single pull, if I'm running up and I'm casting a consecration and I'm doing 2 seal rotations and I'm out of mana, that probably means you don't have enough mana stats. So if you're not, it's the same idea as healing. If I can cast more heals, that's going to be better than if I cast, slightly stronger heals. If I can cast more spells, that's going to be better than trying to cast stronger spells.
So that's a nice guiding light for people to strive towards. And I say this all the time. You can fix most malfunctions in this game by just stacking stamina in, bro. Stamina in makes your character so strong, man. If it's PvP or PvE, whatever.
That's why mages just care about eagle gear. When they do get the max level and they're just AoE farming, that's all they care about. It's just stamina in. Because they can just cast more spells to keep the fight going. It's the same thing for paladins. You can cast more spells, you can heal yourself more, you can just keep the chain going. So... And it's about finding that balance, like we were talking about.
Here's one thing, too, I'm interested in your take on. So, intellect versus stamina. When a part of this, it's got me thinking about using Seal of Light versus Seal of Wisdom, right? And I would experiment. I would try my guiding light when I was leveling up. I've leveled 2 pallies now, or 3, I guess if you count the original vanilla one. I would try mixing it up. Like I would judge a light if it was a fresh light, and then sometimes I would mix it up and judge I would judge light, use Seal of Wisdom. I would judge Wisdom, use Seal of Light. I tried all types of combinations. My headspace right now, man, is I'm kind of just using Seal of Wisdom, pretty much judging Seal of Wisdom and using Seal of Wisdom because I say this because 1 point of mana is much more impactful than 1 point of stamina. Because think about it, you can convert that mana into a big-ass juicy heal, right? And it also accelerates you both offensively, defensively. It gives you more options. When you start leveling a paladin, you start swinging on him with Seal of Light, and you have no mana with just Seal of Light, like, you feel like a potato. You're not really able to get yourself out of that position that well. You need to have Seal of Wisdom there. So when I evaluate stamina versus intellect, I tend to actually like intellect, man. Like I value intellect a little bit more personally, but I don't know.
Yeah, as you're saying, it's kind of the same as, like you said, there's comparisons to Warlock. It's just like it's just like Warlocks. It's about, you can convert your health to mana and you use that as your resource, but it's the opposite way. You use your mana as your health resource. And as you find that rhythm of between fighting mobs and keeping your mana up, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Like you said, you just got to play and you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's just that flow of keeping your mana up. You heal yourself, you can go right into the next mob, you judge it, you can just hit it, use your mana management well, and you know, that's it. That's all the mana stat is for. Like it's good intellect, good spirit, using your seals correctly. You can really try to push some chain pulling mobs and just back-to-back AoE pulls like that.
All right, on to spirit. So I'm looking right now at the spirit formula. Health per tick is 0.25. They're kind of right there with hunters on the health side of spirit. On mana, they're right there with hunters and druids. They're kind of, they're just kind of like average gain from spirit. Spirit, of course, deals with, when you're out of combat, spirit deals with your health regeneration as well. But when you're in combat, obviously your health can't regenerate, but your mana can if you're outside of that 5-second casting window. So
and
spirit will impact that.
That's really important. In the original Paladin guide, you had, like, in the general leveling tips, and I think this is kind of for all classes, but front load your spells, judge, hammer, judge again, just seal, and then just auto attack. If you're low on mana, you can just auto attack. Like, you can just hit the mob, you build your mana again, you heal yourself, and then sometimes, depending on the mob, if you're just fighting like a single mob, you could build half your mana back, and that's full health, and then you can fight the next mob immediately. And then you can speed it up again, and then when you get low mana again, judge wisdom again, just auto attack at those 5-second spirit ticks. Like, it's a valuable thing. It's a really valuable tool, and we talk about it for every class, everything about getting that 5-second rule going. I know we say it all the time, but
we do. It's important, super important. And you can aggressively, take an aggressive line of play where you're dumping mana and using multiple judgments throughout the course of the fight, or you can take you can actually kind of just front load and sit there with the seal on, and they both kind of achieve similar goals. Like, it's kind of a penny saved is a penny earned type thing. We actually have Judgment in the chat. That might be the dude who made the leveling guide.
That is Judgment, actually.
Judgment, what's up, dude? How's it going? I really enjoyed your leveling guide. We were reviewing it before this. When I talk about judging wisdom and using seal wisdom, from my perspective, I really enjoy the AoE grinding style. So like, I'm fighting 8 to 10 mobs or something like that, and I'm doing that for like that ultimate attrition sustain type thing. But I'm right on the same page with you when you're using seal command there. Absolutely. I know you guys, both of you guys, like the two-handed style. Deeper red. It seems.
Yeah,
like
I'm a deep red guy. Yeah. I don't know he is too. He's for those who don't know, Judgment has an amazing, probably, I think for almost any class that I've ever seen. It's one of the most in-depth leveling guides, like truly step by step, all the way to 60. Every quest, every item you should look out for, when to stop and vendor and set your hearth, and just really optimized 1 through 20, like one of the most optimized 1 through 20 paths that I think anyone's written. Like, really smart guy on this stuff.
I would agree with that too, because a lot of times guides are made by people that don't actually play the class themselves, and they're doing their best, right, with what information they can. But it's like, when you have played it yourself, you can really like break down in a much more practical sense where to go and why. Like, he organically weaves in those weapon upgrades. He doesn't tell you just to get the weapon. Like, he actually breaks down when you should get the weapon. So I will actually be throwing links to his guide throughout the stream, in the chat and in the description, because if you're gonna play Paladin, you should totally look at it. 100%.
We'll have that in the description, no doubt. It's even just as like an exhibition to look at it. It is just a beautiful guide, beautiful document. It's super long, super detailed.
I'm gonna throw it in there right now, actually. Yeah,
absolutely.
Here it is. Definitely take a look at this. I'm gonna put it in the description as well of this stream if you guys want to check it out. So yeah, spirit, kind of this is something, if you find, this is where I'm at with spirit right now. If you find pieces with a large amount of spirit on it, consider holding on to it, right? You can hold on to it and use it for
you ready for this? Regen. I have an example in my head. Ready for this? I remember very specifically this item. It is and I can't remember the name, but it is the blue chest that you get from the Nomergon quest. It has 18 spirit on it. I wore that in my dungeon grinding group, as we were leveling until like the mid 40s.
Wow.
Because every time I would take it off, there's a noticeable difference that that my regen would just instantly drop off. Until I found a piece with like just as much intellect on it, I felt that I was gimping my spirit regen by taking off too much spirit gear until I got those higher levels of blessing of wisdom. So
100%, man.
So I think there you go, the Sivanad robes.
I used to say, I go back and forth on this, like, guys, try and use spirit, try and get it. Like, when you're leveling, even at endgame, bro, I'm starting to think, like, maybe all classes are in the same boat. You have so many pieces sitting in your bag. You have so many consumables. Inventory space is a huge deal, man. You never have enough inventory space. So, if you find a piece with an exceptional amount of spirit on it, it might be worth your time to hold on to in your bag to throw on when you're regenning and stuff like that or whatever. This is kind of where my headspace is at. Anyway, spell damage, dude. How does spell damage? The coefficients of consecration, coefficients of holy shock. I know you're kind of a holy shock doomer though, aren't you? Like the Shockedin doomer. I remember you being a Shockedin doomer, no?
I'm spec holy shock right now, but that's because I'm like full raid utility holy for tomorrow coming up. We have raid day, but here I'll pull up. I have in the Paladin Discord. I have all the coefficients listed. So I think for spell damage, as I was talking about while leveling for holy, don't worry about spell damage or don't worry about plus healing. More specific, they kind of tie together. But I'm going to kind of address them mostly as the same thing. So as you get into the end game, maybe into the 50s, the mid 50s, you start doing your BRD runs, you start doing your pre-dungeon DM runs, right? Even into like as early as Zul'Farrak or Maradon, sometimes there's some good pieces you can pick out of there. I would say that's when you want to start trying to convert over, get some healing, get some spell damage. But until then, I wouldn't worry about it. But as you get into those higher levels, and this is mostly because that gear doesn't really appear until later in the game, as you get into those higher levels, that stuff becomes more and more important. As you get closer to raid, the more healing, the better. It's almost like as you get closer to raid, healing value just goes up and up and up. And there's a lot of discussion about whether this is it or not, but for end game, full healing. On my almost full BIS Paladin, I'll put on my full healing gear for you right now. In my almost full BIS Paladin, I have 4,100 mana.
Damn.
I have 4K
That's
mana.
not that. That's like how much I have on my prot Paladin right now.
I have 4K mana. And you ready for this?
Yeah.
I have 750 plus.
Oh, yeah, love to see it.
And
that is quite a number.
And I will fight tooth and nail to anybody that tells me that is not the way you should
So let me get this straight, Big Lester. Let me get this straight. You're saying the guiding light while you're leveling is you go for more spells, not stronger spells, right?
Exactly.
And then when you get to 60 and you get closer to 60, the opposite, it inverses, and you start going
the complete
full
opposite.
The juiciest information here at Kargoz Gaming Entertainment right here.
And you can back this up by going and looking at almost every single one of the top parsers in the world. It's a little different for priests. Priests play a little differently because their mana management's much harder than ours. But when you're talking about just getting the raw amount of healing out that you can, using pots, using runes, if you're really trying like that, you should never run out of mana in MC. Unless we're talking about like a 4 or 5 minute Ragnaros, but then you have other problems that I would worry about first. But I seriously think just full healing at the end game. And for the other side of that equation, the spell damage, for Ret, it's kind of the same thing. As you start off, you're not really going to find a lot of spell damage gear. It's not really going to do a lot for you. But as you get into the end game, mixing that strength and that agi with that spell power, that's going to be where you want to go. You want to have a good amount of spell power. You don't just want to be, as we say, there's a Paladin joke. We have these full AP guys. They come in and they're saying, you gear like a warrior, you just get the biggest two-hander you can, and we've proven time and time again that that's not always the move.
Yeah.
Depending on weapon, maybe. Depending on what gear you have available to you, maybe. But that spell plate, that that spell damage gear with strength and agi on it.
With a good mix, because you can make maybe a part of that at least is making more use of the full amount of stat budget there too. Like, you know, you're just
absolutely,
you're getting all these different stats and they're all impactful for you because you're a hybrid. It's just.
And then the last thing to address is as tanking. Like we were just talking about this again before the stream, you know, spell damage plate, warriors. If you look at warrior tanks, every single warrior tank that's in like the top 100 for TPS right now, they're all dual wielding. They're all wearing like pure fury gear, onslaught girdles, lionheart helms, onyxia neck, right? Nobody's wearing full defense anymore. That's not the meta.
Defense is a meme in 2020.
That hasn't been the meta since like anathema, right?
Yeah.
We're talking like 3-4 years. People have known we need to start doing fury prot. So why aren't we doing the same? Why aren't we wearing our spell plate? Why aren't we upping our TPS? Because that's what the meta is right now. Our healers are strong enough. Healers know how to gear. They know how to keep tanks alive. It's all about building threat. So that spell damage at the end game for healers, for ret, for prot paladins, it all becomes much, much more valuable as you try to work on, you know, that mix of damage or those highest heals possible, or being able to generate as much TPS on that spell plate gear for prots. I'm telling you, there's tons of gear in BRD.
Bro,
even
I'm telling
that
you,
BRD gear.
I'm literally going through what you're saying right now, bro. Because everybody and their mama keeps telling me, "Hey, man, you gotta get Deathbone. You gotta get Deathbone. Get in the Skullmans, get the Deathbone." And I got a bunch of Deathbone now, but it hurts my soul using this Deathbone because I have no health, I have no mana, I have MP5, bro. I'm just sitting there like, what am I doing with my life? And my gut is telling me to use all those BRD pieces, Spider Fang, Carapace.
Yes,
that chest slaps. Yes, dude, I have those. Those dropped on my first BRD run, dude. Celtic
Stop wearing Lionheart and put on T2 helmet. I'm begging you, dude, please.
I'm going through that right now. I was asking stream, and people know I was asking them, so what is defense doing for me exactly? Like, tell me why this is so good. But the whole stat budget is on defense and MP5. I prefer the just stam in, spell power, stuff like that. It helps with threat.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so do you have the coefficients there for Consecrate, Holy Shock, those types of stuff?
Yeah. So absolutely, I got them all here. So for when we're talking heals, Flashlight, Holy Light, Flashlight goes off of the fast cast, so that's 42% healing, and then Holy Light obviously a little bit slower, so it's 71. So you really still get great coefficients on those spells. And the number one thing that I see people incorrectly say is the rank of spells. Anything that's level 20 or higher does not get diminishing returns. That means your rank 1 Flash of Light, which costs, I know off the top of my head, 35 mana, scales exactly the same as your rank 6.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Because you get it at 20 at Flash of Light.
Yeah, you get I was about to say, rank 1 at 20.
Anything that's below 20 doesn't get full value from its spell power coefficient, right? That's just how it works. Yes. But you're saying you get, I always found that weird that you get Flash of Light so late. So you get it at 20, and yes, 100%.
You get it at 20, so it scales. I tell you, back on private servers in like heavy BWL AQ gear, even as early as that, you start seeing rank 1 flashlights hit for 6, 7, 800 crits. Like we're talking for 35 mana.
35 mana, and you get refunded if it crits too, right?
35 mana. You're talking about a heal that'll usually counteract a boss hit.
Got those Dollar Tree prices for the heals,
It is the healing coefficients, and that's why stacking healing is so good, because paladins already do so well with mana. And on top of adding any potion, any dark rune, you should almost never have mana problems if you're properly managing. Throw a couple holy lights in there. You know, you don't want to neglect holy light, but it shouldn't be your main thing. Everybody knows spamming flashlight, because they have such good coefficients when you stack that plus healing.
It's true. And what about Consecrate? Is it 40? Is it the instant? Is it on the instant one?
So Consecrate actually scales off of 33% over all of the ticks.
All of its ticks.
So each tick, if you go up enough,
I can't tell if that's better or worse though. So if you have a Consecrate that does 200 damage and you add 200 spell power on top, instead of doing 400 damage, it will add 33% of that spell power to each tick.
No, across all the ticks.
Each tick will get 33% of your spell power added to it.
No. It'll get.
Across. So it is across the sum total. Okay.
Yeah,
That kind of
it's
sucks
the
though,
sum
doesn't
total.
it?
It's not
kinda
the best for
sucks.
consecration.
That kind of sucks. Yeah.
Some of the best scaling that you're gonna find is on righteousness. So Seal of Righteousness and Judgment of Righteousness, especially Judgment of Righteousness. I think Judgment of Righteousness scales 50% with spell power. Is what I got on mine. I'm almost positive that's correct. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the reasons why spell power ret is now like popping off. Like it's been popping off.
Say it again. What's the coefficient? Is it with righteousness?
I have on my sheet, and I believe this is updated. It's 50%.
50%. Okay.
50% spell power. So and judgment of command. I know off the top of my head is 43. So it's both of those judgments. As you start ramping up the damage, and especially since judgment of command can crit, and it has that 2 times crit multiplier, you really can get some big judgment crits when you start getting into the end game gear.
Okay.
So I think that's a lot where your spell power really will start to boost. Seal of Righteousness, Judgment of Righteousness, Seal of Command, Judgment of Command. Like that's really where you're gonna boost most off of your spell power.
And Holy Shock is instant, right? So it's 40, whatever, 42.
Yep. 40, Holy Shock is on that 42% as well. So I mean, it's still as you say like right now I got 700. I'm still gonna be hitting huge Holy Shocks. And into the end game, as you get closer to like 1,000, you're talking about 1,500, 1,600 Holy Shock crits, like instant cast, low mana, and free. Come on,
that's insane.
I still think Holy Shock's a great pick for anybody who's PvPing, PvEing, because it's just an instant cast and
it's useful. You can use it while moving. You can usually
scales with healing very well, and you have so much healing usually that it'll hit just as hard as some other spells do. So.
Okay, good to know. So spell damage and healer are kind of in the same boat. Spell damage will increase your TPS if that's an implication for you, but it's just kind of a mindset you have to get into as a paladin. The other thing is avoidance. So again, probably a bigger deal if you're gonna tank stuff and do big AoE pulls. But for me, avoidance is pretty juicy, and I'm keeping track of it, right? I'm keeping track of my avoidance now, going as a tank, like looking how much agi I have, plugging in all my stats into a little sim tool so I can see how much total avoidance I have. Defense improves your avoidance across the board.
I do have to bring up one of the things that we missed about intellect. Back to number 5, intellect. This was a huge topic of contention on private servers, and there was a lot of conflicting sources on private servers. 30 intellect equaled 1 crit for Paladin. That is no longer true on Classic. That was incorrect information on private servers. It is now 59.9. It is the normal. Paladins get the same into crit as everybody else. So this does devalue some items a little bit, and it makes crit builds a little harder. But still, you should be focused on stacking plus healing for the most part at the end game. But that is something I wanted to go back and address.
Thanks for setting the record straight. There's going to be a lot of setting the record straights here too, with Reckoning, with a bunch of stuff as we get into it.
Just wait till we get to Reckoning.
We got a whole slide for Reckoning. I know a lot of people are interested about Reckoning. So with Avoidance though, all I'm saying is like you're not like a mage when you AoE grind, where you're controlling everything with slows and you're killing it all without taking damage. You're face tanking these motherfuckers, so like they're all swinging at you. So having a good chunk of avoidance there is very valuable as a paladin, right? So it's something that you should be
absolutely
be tracking of. Yeah,
that's into the ret tree, 5% parry, 5 parry.
You get 5% base too, so you get 10% parry, right? That's got to be it, right?
Ridiculous. It's like it's like the mobs are hitting a raid boss with that level of parry. I think parry and block are going to be your number 1, number 2.
Block is insane though. So this is what block is. I didn't write it down, but correct me if I'm wrong here. When you block, which you're blocking a lot, like Holy Shield and stuff, whatever your block value is, it just takes that off the amount of damage.
Yep.
Right. So they hit you for 100. You block. You have 50 block value. It's going to hit you for 50, right? Well, but that's going to be mitigated by armor, though, right? So yeah. Anyway.
It's after armor. So.
Okay.
A lot of times you'll see for AoE farming, you'll see this stuff like Crest of Retribution. What's the Argent Defender? That's a really, really good shield with the proc rate on the block. You'll see a lot of heavy block percent, like into ZG. You'll see a lot of block pieces come out of ZG, Stylines, some of those really, really big block pieces.
I learned about
AoE farming.
I learned about the sickest cheese too. The sickest cheese,
what's
man.
That?
The one where you walk around with the shield that increases your block chance for 10 seconds. and then it procs, right? And then you swap to the engineering one, and you destroy everything. You see what I'm saying, right?
That's a good comment. See, that's what I'm saying.
You're gonna break your shield. You're gonna break your shield because it's gonna proc so much. But you feel me, right? The engineering shield will like
ridiculous
when it's gonna break really fast, right? But you're gonna just melt everything. Like so, there's this. I forgot what the shield is called, but you keep it on until
that's the Argent Defender.
And then you swap to that or Skull Flame or something like that, and then you get use of all that. So anyway, there's so much juicy stuff you can do with Paladin. I'm telling you, AoE grinding. Once you try it, you're gonna get addicted to it because it's like.
Yeah, so definitely, and we could talk. We could have a whole conversation about like the importance of block, and I think the main thing that people should take away for block is even in raid. So as AoE farming, you're taking a lot of tiny hits. You're getting hit a lot, and your block value is covering a lot of it. So in AoE farming, of course, block is super good, right? But in raids, people are like, oh, well, if I'm getting hit for, 600, 1,000, what is 50, 60 block value going to do? If you block, it's not a crit or a crush. So it always means it's just going to be a regular white hit.
That's why Holy Shield is such a big damage mitigation, right? Because you're blocking like a boss hit and it's not going to,
Exactly. Sometimes you'll be sitting at like 50% mitigation. If Readout and Holy Shield pops up, you're uncrushable.
That's cool.
Like
that's cool.
Your mitigation cap. You're over 102.4%. You're good. So I think that's why people really need to know like when to use Holy Shield. You need to use it at critical times. If you pop low, pop it up. You don't always have to just use it on cooldown. Like if you know the boss is about to hit you, or you're about to get hit by a few adds. Holy Shield is a great way to up your mitigation. Huge mitigation.
Let's set the record straight from your perspective on one thing, too. A lot of people are interested in maybe hearing the answer to this. This is something that I've newly
All right, I'm ready. What we got?
Can Paladins tank some bosses in raids?
Ooh, now this is a good question. You ready for this? My personal experience, okay, as a Paladin. And you can say, oh, it was private server, so it doesn't count. Okay, that's fair. I'll take that. But I promise you, in Classic, I've tanked every single boss in MC. I've tanked all but one boss in Blackwing Lair. I've tanked I've tanked every single boss in AQ40, including Twin Emps.
Yo, someone clip this, dude. Clip this.
I've tanked. I believe I'd have to go through and look, but I believe I've tanked all but 4 bosses in Nax, including Kel'Thuzad.
You're gonna make me pour out this LaCroix water on stream, bro. I'm telling you, man. That is just insane.
I've been a full prop Paladin on Kel'Thuzad. Anybody that says that you can't do it, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. There's prop Paladins right now who are main tanks for guilds. And yes, it's not the most effective. A Fury Prot or a Druid would probably be better in most cases. There's a couple fights that I argue for Paladins, like Noth. I always think Noth Paladins will be the best for that, but there's very specific cases. Yes, Paladins are not the best tanks, but if anybody ever comes up to you and says, you cannot do it, do not listen to them. They are wrong.
The man's living proof.
Anything.
In the flesh.
Anything.
In the flesh. You're inspiring a generation of Paladins right now, Lester. You're inspiring a generation of Paladins.
I take my inspiration. The reason that I started playing Protection Paladin was because of 2 people. One of my good friends with S-Fan, Drakova.
Oh, Drakova's a beast. He's a beast.
Revolutionary. I think he is one of the
his resistance sets, bro, with dueling. Remember he made the shadow resist set. He had frost resist set. When he came to do it, but that was with the old Reckoning though, right? At the same time.
That was with old Reckoning, but still.
Resistance sets are banging.
He was one of the people that really pushed the Paladin class on private servers. And the other person, a little bit less known, but a big name on Lightbringer, was Justine. Justine was the first prop Paladin that I knew, that I met personally, to have Thunder Fury on a private server. And I think that was one of the main motivations. And Justine tanked more than I did. He probably tanked every boss in the game except for the ones that are physically impossible for Paladin.
So was the Greater Blessing spam a thing on private servers?
No,
it was not. And this is a new revolution. This I know we're gonna get into more leveling stuff, guys. But if anything, you guys are probably more interested on reasons to play a Paladin and why it's fun and stuff. I feel like I would if I was in your shoes.
In the chat, I tanked up into. I did not get my Thunder Fury until we were done with AQ40 progression. For those of you saying, oh, you can only do that with the Thunder Fury, I tanked MC and BWL and parts of AQ while we were on farm before I got my Thunder Fury without it.
Can you explain the greater blessing spam for threat? It's such a crazy, spicy little nugget right now that everybody wake up right now. But take some water, splash on your face real quick, go do some push-ups, listen to this right now.
This is like the #1 thing that's come to Classic for Prop Paladin.
Listen to the gods.
So, if you press Greater Blessing of Kings, it buffs all the classes in the raid, okay? And I'm not going to be correct here with the numbers. I could go find them, but it would probably take me a minute to find the graphs. If I cast Greater Blessing of Kings, specifically Kings because it's the cheapest of them, every person that I buff gives me threat. And that threat gets split throughout the targets. So if I'm tanking, say, a Nixia, right? And I'm just spamming on everybody the whole time, if whelps come out, their threat is going to go onto me as well. As long as the healers don't over aggro and they have salve, right? And it's boosted by Righteous Fury. This threat is a holy class threat. So the threat that I get from casting that buff goes on Onyxia, it goes on all the whelps. They're going to come right to me.
That's insane, dude. Instant.
And if I'm tanking a single target, so let's say I'm running up and I'm tanking Magma Dart, right? One boss, just that target. If I'm spamming on... yeah, there it is. He got the number for me. 114 114 threat per target that you buff.
That means if you have 10 warriors,
if you have
in
10
your
warriors,
raid,
which isn't uncommon.
I'm no mathematician here, but that's 1,140 threat per global. Per global. Are you swinging during that same time? Can you swing?
And
you're swinging
your sword.
Oh, forget about it.
You can put down consecration in one of the globals and then keep casting.
Wow.
Come on.
I mean,
come on.
Someone in the chat explain this. I mean, 1,140 threat per isn't that insurmountable? That's insane.
People are like, oh, you're never going to be buffing 10 targets. In my last MC, we had 9 mages.
You stack warriors though. I mean, people stack warriors.
Or you stack warriors. But just for example, that's not, it's not uncommon for people to do that. Like, you're gonna have those classes.
How gangster is that, guys? You're sitting there spamming Greater Blessing of Kings, getting insane threat. Like that is getting 1,140 threat per global.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hashtag just Paladins.
That's the best news that Prop Pali's got out of Classic is the blessings.
What does that mean though? What does that mean for someone who's actually lived it? They've lived the dream. Like, does this excite you? The Greater Blessing spam.
I've seen guys like main tank MC because of it. Like they had Fury warriors, like, just average guilds. Their Fury prop warriors, like, they couldn't really keep up with the pace. They don't have the healers that their guys can put out like full Fury gear and take like hundreds and hundreds of damage per second, like 600, 800 damage per second on their tank. Those guys can still produce good threat, but if their healers can't keep up, you put a Paladin, you put them in full mitigation gear. This is a good example for when Deathbone is good, right? It's got MP5, it's got defense, it's got stamina. You stack stamina, you stack defense, you stack intellect, and you just spam blessings all day. You keep Holy Shield up when it's up, and you're doing 800, 900 TPS.
That's insane.
Come on.
That's insane. I don't know. The chat's not going crazy. I mean, some people are going crazy. I mean, that is, when I saw that, I never even heard of that before. My man is just sitting there, spamming Greater Blessing of Kings in a raid. Tanking all the Gar ads and stuff. I was watching the videos on the guy Ascalon.
Every single ad, no problem.
Shout out to Ascalon. Ascalon.
Oh yeah,
watching
Ascalon. He's good. He's a huge. He's a galaxy brain Prop Paladin. Yeah. He's come up with a lot of the good ideas that we use now in Classic. He's really pushed like a lot of the spreadsheets and calculation stuff. He does a lot of that for us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Pretty much every one of these slides, guys, we could talk about for hours, but in the interest of your time, we will try to drive the needle forward here. So we talked about stats. This is just a little taste of what's to come if you're leveling up Pally right now. I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about talents. Let me see how we do this. All right, let me see how I can do this. Talents. Talent calculator. Let's use Bobo talents.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to answer a few questions. So,
okay.
Yes, you can spam it just over and over. As long as you have enough symbols in your bag, you just buy like 2,000 symbols before the raid, you can cast Blessing of Kings as many times as you can press it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and yes, another really good point. We were talking about this. It's called Burst of Knowledge. Reduces the mana cost of spells. It only costs like 70 mana. And we've already proven, don't say, oh, you're going to run out of mana. Seal of Wisdom, Judgment of Wisdom, with a Flurry Axe, you're good on mana. It's like 200 MP5. It's over 200 MP5.
I love Flurry Axe. I have Flurry Axe right now. I love that thing, dude. That thing is a big slapper, the Flurry Axe. Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're here on the Bobo talents right now.
Here we go.
Let's start with Holy. We'll start with what should we start with? Let's let the chat decide. Which tree should we start? It's an interactive guide after all. Which tree are you guys dying to hear about the talents on? We have Holy, we have Protection, we have Retribution. We'll probably get to all of them.
We're gonna kind of cover, like we talked about this. We're gonna cover like the main talents that you want to look out for in each tree.
All right, Dunedain said Holy. He's the first one there.
Ret, Prot. I'm seeing a couple of Rets.
Left or right?
Ret. I'm seeing a lot of Ret.
Ret? Okay, we can do Ret.
I'm seeing a lot of Ret. We'll start with Ret over there.
Okay, let's start with Ret. Talk to me about Benediction. Reduces the mana cost of your judgment and seals by 3% per. Is it good? Is it bad? How do you feel about this?
It's very good. While leveling, if you're going full Ret, I take this over Improved Blessing of Might.
All day.
All day.
All night.
All day. Improved Blessing of Might at low levels, that's only going to be a couple of DPS at most. But if we're talking about a 15% mana reduction on your most used spells...
Tell me more.
That's just pure speed.
It's true. It's true.
That's just pure speed.
Anytime you see a leveling guide or anything that tells you to get this instead of blessing, instead of Benediction, bro, hard pass.
No.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
This is one of the best. All right. Okay. With that said, Improved Blessing of Might. There must be a time to take it. Vanilla is like that, where there's some weird. There's always weird stuff, dude. There's just weird stuff.
I would say.
What about Blessing of Might?
Of times, but the only times that I take it is group content. So if I'm doing a dungeon cleave group, if I'm, end game and I'm playing more support Holy, or if I'm raiding, these are great pickups. Being in raid, you want to be the guy that your raid leader looks at Pally Power and he says, hey, this guy's got all the blessings, he's got all the improved, he showed up to raid in the right spec. If you're playing full Holy like that, that's how you want to come. You want to be the guy who's prepared with that in group content.
As a raid leader, you love to see it too when someone comes ready to play like that.
Yes, sir. When I'm setting up Pally Power, I got my guys and I know what spec they are, and they show up every week prepared, and that's good. That's how you want to be. But if you're doing your solo content, if you're playing Ret, or if you're playing Prot, or you're leveling, Benediction is amazing value. Amazing value on your seals and just all around increase.
So both of these talents are phenomenal talents. They just do kind of different things. And this is the beauty of vanilla, guys. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I mean, you could, but you're going to lose some cake somewhere else. You're going to lose something over here maybe in the Holy or the Prot. You're going to be losing some cake, right? You can't have a cake and eat it too. That's why the game is so good. One of the reasons why it's so good. All right. But yeah, Benediction, some of the most used spells, at least for me, like this is something that I dream about. I don't have this currently, and I'm Prot Holy, and I dream of it. I have dreams about Benediction and how it used to feel when I used to cast seals and judgments.
Yeah, it's a noticeable difference if you're solo playing, just the cost of your spells.
Okay, so let's go to the next one now. So we have the tier 2 set of talents. Start from left to right. Improved Judgment.
So Improved Judgment, really good for endgame DPS. I would say it's not as important while you're leveling, because you're going to clip your 5-second auto or your 5-second ticks a little bit more, and you're not always going to be using it off cooldown. So it's a really good DPS increase, but not the first thing that I would pick in this tree while leveling.
Okay.
So
this is something that I actually I deviate a little bit from you on. I have to say, I do like the Judgment just because I'm trying to get my kill speeds down. I'm trying to pump as hard as I can on these single targets because the kill speed can be a little bit lackluster. So I try to get as many judgments as I can on the target. And I have, when I level Paladin in the early ret, I try to forego the 5-second rule. I'm just trying to pump as fast as I can, and I'll drink when I need to drink or whatever. And with Benediction and Blessing of Wisdom, I didn't really have mana problems. So it felt like it afforded. And you don't want to be mana capped, right? That's another just principle of WoW in general. Not just leveling. PvE, PvP doesn't matter. Don't be sitting with full resources, right? So
always. Yeah. And but one thing is, if like I'm AoE grinding spec and I'm going down, I'm not getting this because I'm not going to be judging a lot while I'm AoE grinding. I'm going to judge one target and I'm just going to hit it with my seal, and I want to keep my mana up and heal. But if you are looking to push those single target damage, then that's definitely a good pick.
Yep, 100%.
So
far, all talents have been very strong so far. Now we might move
strong,
on to the first talent that may not be strong, but could be strong. How do you feel about this? Improved Seal of the Crusader.
So I see all the ret guides say, take this, take this, take this. You're almost never going to judge Crusader while you're leveling. Unless you're doing dungeons and fighting bosses a lot. That's the only time I would suggest taking this. In the end game, if you have a debuff slot, which is, would be very nice, Seal of the Crusader is very good. Judgment of the Crusader is very good. So this does increase your judgment as well, your judgment bonus to the holy damage. So
by a substantial amount, like this is pretty juicy. Like if you had to just a target dummy, you have a target dummy right there in front of you. So you're saying there is the potential reason to take this.
Yeah, if I'm like rating full ret, full DPS spec, and I have a debuff slot, I'm absolutely taking this talent. But if not, and I'm just solo playing,
S-Fan probably has this right in his raid. He probably gets afforded this debuff slot.
Yeah,
right?
See, if I was S-Fan, I would stay on this talent. I would stay on this talent absolutely with that debuff slot. But if not, I'm moving over to one of the best, a little bit more over in the tree, to one of the better talents in the early areas.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be talking about
parry, baby.
5% parry.
5% parry.
This was something. I know this was something we talked about in the first guide when we were making it. You were surprised on this.
Mm-hmm.
I said this is something you should rush at early levels. 5% parry. That's insane. You're talking about damage mitigation, a DPS increase at the same time.
It's true.
A reset swing timer.
So if someone swings at you and you have 10% parry, some people in chat may not be putting the pieces together. You have a 10% chance to basically not take that damage, and not only not take that damage, but you have this thing called parry haste. So after you parry, whatever's left of your swing timer, and I really want to put emphasis on whatever's left. So if you're about, it will shave 40% off whatever is left of your swing timer. So it's not maybe as good as people might originally thought, where you just get a free swing on top of everything or whatever.
Yeah,
you might think.
It's not instantaneous, but it's you'll notice if you parry and you're watching your character, you'll notice the almost instant swing. It feels like sometimes.
But conversely, if you're right at the start of your swing timer, right, you kind of get really close to that full 40%.
You save more time. Exactly.
And with that big slow two-hander, man. With that big slow two-hander
in the chat. How you doing, man? But yeah, he is absolutely right. He's parry haste. Parry hastes add more damage. It's called parry haste.
Then improved judgment, but you're not going to be. Then improved judgment. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you're not only if you're judging. Maybe on like a long boss fight, but
I think so though. I don't know. I mean, parry
in solo content, getting a parry,
just killing the mob. I don't know.
It's like a free mob kill, man. I don't know. It depends if you're doing more solo play or if you're doing like group dungeon raiding content. I would say.
Yeah.
Again, a very like interchangeable.
I guess the breakpoint in my mind would be come down to time: is the mob staying alive long enough to get 3 judgments? Because without the improved judgment, like you're probably. Without improvement, okay.
Well,
you see what I'm saying? Like, if the mob is at that level,
the debuff that it puts on the mob gives you a bonus holy damage. So it's not the judgment is like doing damage; it's putting the debuff on the mob,
which
and therefore any holy damage you do, consecration, your seals,
will do more damage.
Judgment of righteousness or command; those are all doing more damage.
This is what I'm thinking. Right? Let's talk about a very simple case. You're judging seal of righteousness on a single target, right? Okay, if just the natural flow of that combat. Let's say it takes 20 seconds for that fight, right? What's the cooldown on judgment if you reduce it by 2?
8.
8. Okay,
8 seconds.
So. Yeah, I'm actually kind of getting on board with you right now because I'm probably only going to use 2 judgments on that mob, and with or without this talent, I'm only going to use 2 judgments on the mob. This improved judgment becomes better if I'm in that range where I'm getting 3 judgments off instead of 2 against that mob.
Yeah, that's the whole equation for like how long is the mob alive, and that's kind of the value that you need to pass for a Judgment of the Crusader to be worth it.
And even if I could get 3 judgments off on the mob, I might not do so just to conserve mana a little bit, right? You want to be going super ham. So you're kind of selling me on the not improved judgment. It is interesting. It is interesting. Okay.
The parry, I'm telling you, that parry is deadly. So here, let's kind of skip around. Actually, well, not just yet. The next row has obviously some really good stuff in it too. So Vindication is okay, more of a PvP thing. I wouldn't say it's mandatory for PvP even then. Maybe just 1 point in it to get the debuff on the target, an extra cleanse, but you know, it's okay versus melee. It's a pretty good attack power drop.
I will say I had a couple extra points to spares, you know, like just like 1 or something to unlock the next tier, so I threw it in here, and I was very surprised at how the uptime of this thing. It feels like it's freaking always up somehow.
Oh yeah, it's a very high proc chance. Yeah, but it's just not always the best choice. Yeah, unless you're like full PvP, and even then sometimes not 3 out of 3.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. All I know is I put that 1 point in it, and then now I got to see that debuff on the target, and it just made me it just tickled me a little bit. I was like, oh cool, it's another thing I can look at per mob. You know,
it doesn't sadly it does not affect PvE mobs because they don't have like strength and agi stats. So this is like purely PvP talent. So
what is the thing I'm thinking of then? The thing that procs on hold on. Oh, it might be. What is it called? Is it Vengeance? Maybe it might be Vengeance.
Yeah, Vengeance down there.
Oh,
okay. We'll get to Vengeance. Don't worry. So the other three things we're seeing in this row: crit, just flat crit. That's straight money right there. The other two that we're gonna get to in a second. The other 2 things in this tree are a little bit more priority over it. But the crit is, if for any standard ret build, you're taking 5 out of 5
of crit. So while we're here, since you're a ret boy, just take us down while you're what talents you would pick while leveling yourself. So you go 5 out of 5.
So I go Benediction, 5 out of 5 parry.
Okay.
Next, I would pick Seal Command because that's about the level range that we would kind of get to. And for those who don't know, just quick recap on Seal Command. Depending on the speed of your weapon, there's like a PPM procs per minute, a chance for. Or PPM with your weapon speed that's converted into a % chance for Seal of Command to proc on every hit. When Seal of Command does proc, you get an extra yellow swing that deals 70% of your main white damage plus whatever like spell power added on. So yeah, 7 PPM. But then, you know, as you change weapon speeds, slower weapons has a higher % chance for it to proc. And faster weapons has a lower % chance to proc. So you'll get
that PPM's not changing, so you want slower weapon pretty much. That's so right?
Slower weapons is the general rule of thumb. So Seal Command is like the standard ret seal.
Just to chime in here too, on my last Paladin guide, I said if it's faster than a certain threshold, use Seal of Righteousness. Playing through it again on a Paladin, I tried it back and forth with different weapons. It pretty much felt like never correct to use Seal of Righteousness, at least in Real Classic. It felt like it was Seal of Command. If you're using a two-hander...
Yeah, unless you're using like a hyper-fast two-hander or a one-hander, Seal of Command is almost always the choice for those big two-handers. Even at that like 3.3, 3.2 kind of dead zone of speed, I still think
Seal of Command is juicy. And it's also, this is very real consideration. You will have more fun using Seal of Command. Seal of Command is that Wind Fury effect. I pretty much thought of it as Wind Fury. And if you're playing a dope, if you're playing a dwarf, the spin animation is dope. You actually spin around, like you do like a little 360, and it's very fun. People love animations, right? They pick female characters over male characters a lot of the time because of the animations. So the animation with Seal of Command, you're spinning around, you're doing lots of damage. Very, very fun ability to use, and it's like a Wind Fury effect, pretty much. That's what it looks like. Yeah.
And then we get here to the last talent in the tree. Just a staple paladin talent.
Pursuit of Justice.
Pursuit of Justice. I think by now everybody kind of knows the value of this. It's like a big meta thing now. Is move speed on all your armor pieces, carrot on a stick, super important. Paladins get that in a talent.
Tell me this though, if this is an alt Paladin that you're leveling, you're funneling him gear, you're funneling him armor, which is the best way to level a Paladin, and the most fun way to level a Paladin if you're funneling all the gear and stuff, and you can just get movement speed enchanted on your boots. You're still taking this?
No,
right? See,
I wouldn't.
That's huge.
That is a point. You know, if you do have those enchants on your gear, then this does not stack with them.
It doesn't. It will increase your mounted movement speed, but it won't. It won't stack with your carrot though. But it won't stack with your carrot, right?
It will not stack with carrot. No.
So
you're capped at 108 until your other gear becomes faster. Until you have the riding skilled gloves, mithril spurs, and the carrot all stacked, you won't be faster.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So honestly, Pursuit of Justice is good, but if you're a big pumper and you have money to get the movement speed on boots,
Yes, sir.
You know, that's the cool thing about vanilla. Every talent. This is why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. Why we're talking about each talent, because there's so much to talk about, even with the most brain dead looking talents. Like, you know, this is I don't know, not taking Pursuit of Justice. That's like a hot take right there. Anyway,
So we got eye for an eye.
so you
Again,
would
just-
go Pursuit of Justice though for you if you're leveling
yes,
a Paladin?
while
fresh
leveling,
server by
yes,
yourself. Fresh server by yourself, right?
I take Pursuit of Justice after Seal of Command,
Okay.
and then a couple points in Conviction.
3 points to or 2 points to unlock the next tier, but you're gonna keep going all the way down to 5.
Yes, but I will get it up to 5.
Yep. Okay.
So then we come down to the next tree. For me, eye for an eye. Again, it's mostly PvP. Sometimes you face casters and they crit you and it sends some damage back. But for the most part, this is a PvP talent. Again, like Vivification. So we'll kind of skip that one for now. Improved Ret Aura. If you're doing a lot of AoEing like Kargoz, then this is absolutely what you're gonna get, and you're never taking Ret Aura off if you're AoE farming. But if you're just single targeting, sometimes other auras could be better, like Devo, like we were talking about in the early levels. But obviously by now we're like level 27, so most of the time you're gonna have Ret Aura on too. And even in fact, we kind of did some math. Ret Aura is more damage usually than Sanctity Aura in the next level. So
Wow.
this is a really good talent.
You do go improve Red Aura, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes I do.
So another thing too, I will chime in on improve Red Aura. This is one thing I was not expecting with Paladin. If you're a deep ret, don't think you're not able to tank dungeons. I tanked all of SM as deep ret, not even with the shield, bro. I used a two-hander with the Red Aura on. I just used my body to pull. I just would inch out there and body pull stuff. I had Red Aura, a couple smacks with Red Aura on and a judgment or two, and I was chilling. We were able to do SM no problem. Like so. So the reason I'm saying that is, you know, Red Aura does actually a pretty substantial amount of damage. Even for me right now, level 60 on my Proud Holy, Red Aura is like number 2, I think. No, I think it goes Consecration, Auto Attack, then Red Aura is the number 3. Then the Red Aura is the number 3.
Reflects are, you know, they add up.
And that's not even
damage you have.
That's not even with the 50% though. That's just the basic Red Aura. That's just the, you know. So Red Aura, not something to sleep on. Anyway, so you go Red Aura if you're going. You're on.
I get Red Aura here, and then I usually go a two-handed spec because I'm almost always using a two-hander here, and that increases. You know, again, the same as the.
So you are not going Sanctity Aura.
No.
Wow.
No, it's a waste of
hot
time.
take.
If I'm unless I'm doing like raid content, if mobs are hitting me, then there's no point. I would just use Red Aura over it.
Hot take, man. Hot take
sir.
right there. The hard pass on Sanctity Aura.
No, sir. Not unless it's end game.
Dude. Buyer beware, though. It's my spidey senses are tingling, though. Like, you sure, bro? Sanctity
I know
Aura?
it's like the talent to get, but
oh man, you're looking forward to it. Getting a ding 30. You don't get this new aura. Okay.
No, sir.
Damn.
No,
okay,
sir.
so you go 3 points, two-handed weapon spec. Okay.
Yeah, and again, same thing as we were talking about strength. Your white damage increase is your Seal of Command damage increase. Those procs are now stronger because we have a higher white damage.
Well, what about if you're going to party up, though, and do some dungeons from time to time, and there might be another pally there who's going to be a tank? Because there's so many people watching this video, and they really like the whole idea of pally tanking, and it looks so fun.
It's like a 5-man pally group. You tell one of them to go respec.
Well, you can throw on Sanctity Aura for that tank, you know, and he's able to do more, you know. So you just don't. It's not even worth 1 point. Not even 1 point.
Not 1 point.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. So okay, where do we go from here after 200 weapon specialization?
I go back up. I'll go back up and get Imp Judgment because, like we said, it's a very good talent, but I don't think it's like immediately needed for leveling. So I'll fill that out, and that'll get me to 25.
Okay.
And then it's just straight vengeance from there.
Straight vengeance.
And even though I've argued this in the past, I used to be a little against going all the way down to vengeance early, but I think even while leveling, you should crit enough that you get a big crit, 15%, and it's like a free mob kill. Like your next hits, if a Seal Command procs, it's going to be huge. The damage increase on 15%. For your next like 2-3 autos sometimes that's totally worth stopping and getting.
Yo, real quick, my man Great Wizard X, huge brain mage PvPer, really nice guy, longtime friend of the channel, Classic WoW Live content partner, just overall upstanding member of the Classic WoW community, an absolute legend, big fan of his content, just rated us with 53 people. Thank you so very much, Great Wizard, man. I know you got... Welcome to all the Maguses and the Magi, or whatever you call them. Welcome.
Yes,
this is a Paladin stream. We're learning... You guys might be interested in learning how to play Paladin, because Paladins actually have a superior gold farming method than mages at the moment. And, I'm just kind of joking, but at the same time, not joking.
They're gonna get ruffled up about that.
And what I mean by that is they can solo Dharma East. They found a way. So we're here talking all things Paladin today. Welcome, guys. Thank you so very much, Great Wizard, man. I'm gonna get you back ASAP. All right.
Yeah. I'm down there in Vengeance now. This is kind of the standard, just basic ret build. You can move points around. You could get Imp Seal of the Crusader. You could get Blessing of Might for like raiding content.
Whoa, no Repentance?
What do you think? This is a PvP server?
No, dude, Repentance is good. It's gotta be It's a damage increase with the Seal of Command.
No,
it's sick. I love that wombo. It's such a fun wombo, though, dude.
It's mana expensive.
No. I'm
it's very
60 mana, dude. 60 mana. This is so good in dungeons.
That's like another seal cast.
No,
man.
dude, 100%. Repentance is the play, bro. You telling me you don't get Repentance at all?
I would only get this if I'm PvPing.
Bro, even when you're just killing stuff in the world and there's 2 humanoids and you got to stop one from healing because you have 2 interrupts. You only have 1 interrupt with Hajj.
Yeah, so just save Hajj for it. You play smart if you know they're going to be healing mobs.
Dude, and you get extra burst damage. It's a DPS increase, right? It's a DPS increase, if you have it.
Technically. Very slight.
This is one of my favorite wombos. You walk up to the mob, you Repentance it, because it's longer range, 20 yards. Then you Judgment, reapply Seal, spin around, smack him, Hodge him, then Judge him again, and you're getting the bonus damage from Seal of Command with the Judgment and Repentance, and the mob just gets melted, and it's so fun, man. You get for 1 talent point, you get another interrupt. Just think about it that way. Don't even think about anything else. You get another interrupt for 1 talent point.
I don't take it usually. I don't take it. I skip out on it.
Okay. It hurts my body. I'm physically aching right now.
This is for like end game content. I don't take Repentance almost ever, even if I'm like out in the world leveling. That's because I'm usually, if I'm going full ret like this, I'm usually going half holy. So you gotta think ahead. I mean, you can respect.
Juicy though.
But if we're talking like my red spec, I'm skipping Repentance.
Okay. All right, we're skipping Repentance, and my body is physically aching. We skipped Repentance and Sanctity Aura. Okay, we're 5 out of 5 Vengeance. Oh, 5
out of 5 Vengeance, and that's it. That's the money.
That's the red. Okay, and then you start going holy now.
And then I start going holy. So we can talk kind of about the holy tree next. I know kind of everybody, I'm sure, is a little more familiar with the holy tree. It's where more paladins stay, but we'll kind of go through it. We have top row, strength, int. There's actually a lot of discussion.
There's a lot of discussion. You have to make a choice of whether you want 10% more intellect versus 10% more strength. And me, all day, every day, I feel like I would just snap pick the intellect, right? Because I like just stacking raw stam and int. It's my favorite thing to do. But at the same time, you have to think to yourselves, if you have no int pieces on and you're going full agi strength, do you want to buff something that you don't have a lot of on a base level, 10%, or buff the thing that you have a lot more of with 10%? Either way, like you have to reach a decision.
This is something we've long discussed, and it almost always boils down to what are you doing and what gear are you wearing. It is very dependent. So just being able to value, how much strength, how much DPS am I getting, and am I tanking, am I ret? If you're holy, obviously you're just going with the int almost always. So right here, I'm picking the int. Pretty standard int pick here. I think most people, unless you're going like full ret or full prot, int is almost always the pick. Okay. So next, this is one of the main I'd say there's like 3 really big talents here. This is one of them. We're talking about spiritual focus. Yes, sir.
My favorite talent my favorite talent out of all paladin talents is literally broken talent.
Right here. This
unbelievable.
So, spiritual focus. I'll read it. 5 out of 5. 70% chance to not lose casting when you take damage. So this is additive with concentration aura. Concentration aura's base is 35%. That puts you over 100% to never get your spells knocked back from damage. You can be silenced, but you cannot say if a warrior comes up and hits you, you will never lose cast time.
You can have 900 murlocs banging on you, and you're just free casting fat, juicy holy lights on your face.
Yes, sir. All day.
You
all
can
day.
heal yourself while tanking. The implications of spiritual focus are vast and far-reaching, guys. Like
This is PvE. If you're taking any damage in raid, you don't want to get knocked back and lose some HPS. If you're in battlegrounds or PvP, this is easy heals if a warrior dives on you or a rogue opens on you. If you're leveling, this is I'm about to die, but I need to get a heal out. If I have 2 mobs on me, I can heal either way. I won't have to wait 8 seconds to cast a heal. If you're dungeoning, this is just as important. Like you said, if you're tanking or if you're healing again, this is everywhere. Everywhere you go, every heal you cast, you will notice this talent.
As much as I love
you
Paladin,
will notice it if you don't have it.
If this talent wasn't in the game, I probably wouldn't even play Paladin. That's how much I love this talent. This talent is just, it's everything to me, man. I highlighted it in green. When you can tank and heal yourself. You're literally, you carry the torch on your back, man. Like it's the biggest play. It's just when you're running dungeons, you're able to tank and heal yourself at the same time. Like you're 75% of the way there. Like it's crazy to me. So to my mind, sometimes I see these talent builds like in the Paladin Discord last hour that have improved Seal of Righteousness. And you can imagine how triggered I get. I'm like, oh my god, a build with no spiritual focus. I'm out, dude. Hard pass. But the more and more I thought about it, like, I was having a little bit of thread issues in Scholomance, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah. Anyway, maybe you can talk about the improved Seal of Righteousness if it's good. Yeah.
So improved Seal of Righteousness. This one, it's not as valued nowadays because on private servers it did scale with all of the damage. Nowadays it's only base damage, but even yet still at high levels, it's still a really good threat. If you're going like full prot, like you don't plan on healing in raids, you're just only there to tank or you're only there to do spell ret, either one of those, this is going to be a really, really nice damage increase. But again, spiritual focus right next to it, and some builds absolutely take both of these, but spiritual focus is almost always the move unless you're doing like full spell ret, full prot TPS building, but this is certainly a good talent for those builds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you're in a raid or something, if you're trying to push your TPS, it's a good talent, right? It's a good talent.
Yeah,
especially when you talk about the scaling of righteousness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely.
So
into the next tree, we have a couple good things here. Healing light, absolutely mandatory for raid healing. Again, it's just like the base. But a 12% increase on the base of some of your spells. I think on like max rank Holy Light, a 12% increase comes out to be 120 or 140 plus healing off of a talent.
It's off of 3 talent points. Wow.
And even on Flash of Light, it's like 60, 70 bonus plus healing. And that affects all your ranks. And as you up rank, it gets stronger. It's a very, very mandatory talent, so to say, for raid healing.
It's just good. Just good. Yeah.
Consecration. This is a lot of people. This is like one of the standard things when they think about Paladin gameplay. Throwing down a consecration, for prot, for ret, even for holy and like PvP or solo. This is for a lot of builds. They do take this, but it's going to be that mana expensive. Is the only downside of it. So a couple of tricks you can do: you downrank consecration back down to like rank 2, rank 3, or pretty common strategy. You'll only use consecration if you're trying to save mana when vengeance is up, because vengeance does apply to the overall damage. So every tick is boosted. So that's also that's a couple.
One of the flashiest abilities in the whole game, and it's such a fun ability to use, man. Like, what is a flashier ability to this? When you're a paladin and you're using Consecration and Holy Wrath on legions of undead mobs, as you guys saw me doing 60 the other day, it's so visually epic, man. Like, no class even really comes close to that level of epicness. Maybe, like, Hellfire is pretty epic, too. But, so working our way down here, you would go 5 out of 5 Divine Intellect, 5 out of 5 Spiritual Focus, and then would you know, this is you leveling personally. Then are you going to get Consecration at 50 on the dot, or are you going to go straight Healing Light?
No, I actually skip Consecration a lot. I skip Consecration a lot because I think it's just too mana expensive. I mean, that's why we're taking a lot of these talents. Like, we're taking Divine Intellect, we're taking Spiritual Focus. These are all like mana healing oriented talents.
Okay. Lester doesn't want to tank dungeons. It's all good.
I don't want to tank dungeons.
He wants to be a big pumper and do weird ret stuff.
Big single target threat.
Okay. That's fine. So Healing Light 3 out of 3?
if this is like end game or something, I would definitely take Consecration, and I would definitely take Sanctity Aura. But if I'm leveling and I'm just doing solo play, I'm all about, you know, getting that big damage out and then being able to move on, heal, keep myself alive. So I think Consecration is just too much mana while leveling. It's just not worth the damage to mana ratio sometimes.
Are you just gonna pick it up after Holy Light though? What are you doing here? You go Divine Intellect, Spiritual Focus, Healing Light. What's the next steps down the?
Oh, you're not gonna like this.
Oh, it's gonna be something weird, dude. It's gonna be something weird. What is it?
Click Lay on Hands twice for me, please.
Oh, that's not bad. Lay on Hands is actually not that bad. Yeah.
Okay,
no.
good. All right.
It's not bad.
I think.
Yeah.
I tell my raiders this all the time.
I thought you were gonna do something weird, bro. I thought you were gonna put 2 points in Divine Strength or something.
No.
I like utility, man. 2 points to give you utility. Yeah.
I tell my raiders this all the time. If you're not using your cooldowns, you might as well not have them. If I'm not pushing myself to go as fast as I can, right? And if I'm not, you know, using Lay on Hands, like if I'm pushing, I want to push myself to the brink and Lay on Hands. That's full value, right? If I'm pulling 2-3 mobs at a time, or if I'm just chain pulling mobs nonstop, my mana gets low or my health gets low, boom, Lay on Hands. And it's back up faster. I get an armor boost for a couple minutes. I think most people underrate Lay on Hands as, instead of just a defensive CD, just as a utility.
Yeah.
And not just like a big cooldown that you should never use except.
100%. I'm on the same page, man. Do you guys ever, out of curiosity, like tempo Lay on Hands right before a boss or something? Like just to, you know, to give the armor buff to the tank if you're going into a really difficult pull or something? I think we lost him. He's frozen.
Using it as like a defensive cooldown.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Just oh no, I think it's better now. I can see you now. Do you ever lay on hands before a big pull? You know.
That's a pretty. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good. Sorry. So that's actually like a very high level strategy. So say for a perfect example, the first one that comes to mind is in Gar. Of course, this is like end game. In Gar, you lay on hands the tank that's tanking all the ads, and then that's a huge armor bonus. So it's just like a tempo thing. Like you can just keep the pace.
So
going.
you use it and then you just drink right after, though, right before the pull.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, like you. So that is the thing.
Okay, so you use it on the tank, and the paladin who used it drinks right before the pull.
Yeah.
And then the tank has like a stone shield.
So that's an actual thing you do. That's an actual thing. That's a strat.
Yeah, that's a very common strat.
That's a very common strat.
On Lotheb and Nax, we did that every single week. There's tons of bosses you can do it on every boss if you like. It's a huge armor gain, 30%, and then you get an inspiration proc on top of it. That's a huge thing for tanks and raid.
Yeah, that's tight, man. That's tight. So you get to improve lay on hands. You're already thinking like a healer while you're leveling. All right. And
yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking. I think it's if I manage my mana well and I use my heals well, that's going to increase my overall kill time, or not kill time, but like overall leveling time between mobs.
So I know you're going to go Illumination next, but let's talk about Unyielding Faith. I actually have heard some paladins who are like more PvP oriented saying that you should get Unyielding Faith. Do you have any? What Unyielding Faith does is it increases your chance to resist fear and disorient effects by an additional 10%.
Absolutely. This is great when you're fighting warlocks, priests, warriors, rogues, all of these hunters. All of these are, use some kind of fear or disorient. So I think I think this is a great PvP talent. Just as we were over in the ret tree doing eye for an eye, vindication. I think those are big PvP talents, and Unyielding Faith is right up there if you're pushing rank.
If you have like a shadow resist, if you have a shadow resist set, like a Jacoba belt, use shadow resist aura, and you have Unyielding Faith.
And Unyielding Faith, you'll resist a lot of fears.
You're gonna resist a lot of fears. That's huge. That's huge. All right, so this is not a dead talent. This talent is used, right?
No, not at all. This is definitely a big PvP talent.
Big PvP talent. Okay, but you're gonna go Illumination next, I assume.
But I'm going Illumination again for just more value, more healing, more free mana returnment. It's just too good. And then I'm around here. I'm gonna cap it off and just get my Divine Favor. And it's like, I think this is like, if you're solo building or if you're leveling, I think it's all about pace and tempo and just getting to the next mob as fast as you can. So having all of your staple ret stuff early is good, and then into the later levels when fights are longer and healing is more important, getting those basic holy stuff, and then at max level, this is still even a really good farming set or farming spec. While you're just out in the world killing stuff as ret, it may not be as good as say like an AoE farming set. But
I just think to myself though, like you're even Big Lestor is gonna have to do dungeons to get some weapon upgrades, like some of the guaranteed ones. Like let's say it's Bone Biter, let's go say it's maybe something you need something out of Maradon or something like that. 1 point in consecration to make the tanking way easier for a little bit of the spicier dungeons though. In practice, you swear to God you wouldn't do it.
I love healing, man.
Okay,
I love healing.
You love healing.
I think any dungeon that I do while I'm leveling for like a quest item or something, I'm always going to be healing, and I think that's where these talents also come into play. Having these and saying, you know, into like Zul'Farrak, Maradon, Sunken Temple, like even those kind of higher level 40s, 50s dungeons, this is enough. Like this is going to be, you know, healing light, spiritual focus, illumination. Like those are the points you need to do any healing. With these, you could go and heal a raid with these talents. Like you don't even need all of these. These are where you're gonna stay at.
Okay. All right. So anyway, let's go to these other talents though. Even though we're not gonna get them. Improved Blessing of Wisdom. How good is this? Good, bad? Not wolf.
Improved Blessing of Wisdom is really, really, really good.
Okay.
I don't take this for leveling. I don't think the bonus is enough, especially on the lower ranks of Blessing of Wisdom, depending on when you get to this. But again, same thing as Improved Blessing of Might. If I'm doing a lot of group content, if I have casters...
What about your main raid spec? So this is an endgame talent?
My main raid spec, right now, I am spec'd into Improved Blessing of Wisdom.
Okay, that's all we need to hear. So it's actually a viable, super good talent that you actually pick in your
very good talent.
Lasting Judgment. Increases the duration of Judgment of Light and Judgment of Wisdom by, looks like... It's a couple points in this, right? 3 points or something like that?
Three points into Lasting Judgment. Increases the duration by 30 seconds total.
To my mind, as a new Paladin, I see this and I go like, the thing freaking refreshes anyway when you hit it, so why would you even need this?
I would say in normal content, you almost never take this. The only time you take this is if you're like a utility Holy Paladin, and even then, really only you should coordinate one Paladin to... one Paladin.
Melee is going to just refresh it though, right? You're saying it's...
No. You only melee this... It only owns it on your melee.
Yeah, but I'm saying, aren't you going to be doing that though? Isn't there a Paladin assigned to doing that or no?
I mean, I just have one of my Paladins assigned to Lasting Judgment, and then he just judges it and he can heal for the rest of the fight.
Oh, okay.
So he doesn't have to waste any hit time or casting time.
So this is actually, you see situations as a raid leader that you would actually tell someone to go spend
I would assign somebody to get this, yeah.
Okay, all right.
In a very organized guild, I kind of have everybody assigned to one blessing and one guy assigned to Lasting Judgment.
Okay, Holy Power, pretty baller. 5 crit, right?
Holy Power, really, I think if you're really trying to push parses, push good healing, this is mandatory for raid spec. Absolutely.
Okay, and then Holy Shock, you already talked about Holy Shock.
I've always liked Holy Shock a lot. I know its downfalls, but I think it's, you know, a great tool in raiding and even in solo content. If I'm full Holy and I'm out in the world and I'm trying to kill stuff, Holy Shock is also my favorite. Holy Shock.
Is this the Lestor kind of like borderline selfish fun talent though? Like you got to have one or something, bro. It seems like you're skipping everything, bro. But you got to get something, man. So Holy Shock is where you have a little bit of fun.
I like Holy Shock still.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
You're a Holy Shock bloomer. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Good for PvP. Good for solo content. I think it's an alright. I think it's a good enough talent to pick up for a main raid Holy spec. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Let's talk about the protection talents now. So we first have Improved Devo Aura. Are you telling the Paladin to get this?
If I ever see a Paladin spec into Improved Devo Aura, he's out of my guild. I think Improved Devo Aura is maybe one of the worst talents in the whole game.
Now you know what not to do if you want to join Lestor's guild. Do not get Improved Devo Aura. Okay, why is it so bad? It just doesn't improve it that much?
So, one, I almost never have a Paladin in Group 1, where my tanks are, with Devo Aura. Okay? 2, while leveling, you're never going to use Devo Aura past, like, level, you know, the mid-20s. And you should not waste 5 points on getting this up an extra 25%. That's only going to be like an additional 1% damage mitigation, as opposed to just putting on Diva Aura, which could be 6 or 7. Okay? And then, lastly, I'm not going to be using this in PvP ever, because I'm always going to have Concentration Aura on.
Okay.
So I'm never, ever using
So they're out of the guild, dude. So if you want to get someone, you want to sabotage somebody, tell them to go respec Diva Aura in Lestor's guild. And
then they're out.
And then they're out.
They're out of here.
They're out. They're going to just instantly G-kick, dude. Okay.
Okay.
Redoubt.
And sitting next to it is one of the best talents in the whole game, which is another reason why you should never take this as your first tier. Redoubt is huge for PvP, for tanking, for any kind of general survivability. This is where you stay. 30% block, it's like a holy shield after you get crit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, after you get crit, block is up. A block isn't a crush, isn't a crit. It reduces the damage slightly. So this is really, really good for AoE farming when you're getting hit a lot and you're getting crit here and there. You'll have good uptime on Redoubt. And anytime you see this proc in PvP, if a rogue is on you, their damage is gone. Their damage is completely gone, and you can pretty much just sit with a rogue on you if you keep Redoubt up enough.
So I will say, and this is something that I don't know too much about, but on private servers, right, when I leveled my Paladin on Northdale,
yes,
you would be able to sit down. I had Q as my sit key. I had a very, very high impact, sit key. And every time you would sit down, you would get crit. You would hear the little boink of the Redoubt, right?
Yeah,
and that would signify to me that I have a charge of reckoning. And we will get into this more later, but we have established that you can indeed still, in fact, absolutely still, indeed, continue to sit proc reckoning. That is a thing. It's just a little bit wonkier now.
Yes.
The Redoubt is not lining up perfectly with getting crit for me anymore when I sit proc. How do you? Yeah. What do you think about that?
As you said, I am setting the record straight right now. Everybody on stream, and spread the word. You can still sit proc reckoning. There is a trick to it now. It is slightly harder. As you get hit, you have to batch a stand. So you don't use the /sit macro anymore. You use the sit keybind on your keyboard. You sit down before you get hit, and as the mob hits you, you sit again, and that forces your character to stand up. The game still thinks you're in the sitting state, but as it checks the hit on the batch, the game looks and it says you're standing.
So you don't spam it? I had a macro someone gave me. I just spammed that shit, and
there is value in just spamming it. So because most of the time you'll get it, and that's what people did back in vanilla.
Yeah.
True vanilla, you can go watch videos. People still spammed, and they got reckoning procs off sits, but you can do it with like absolute accuracy. If your timing is good enough, you could sit stand every attack.
Every stand. And this is the same thing with warriors too. Like Navik was telling me, he's able to sit proc the warrior shit, whatever. So you can still sit proc stuff in general.
And enrage.
Mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, enrage, not flurry. Flurry is when you do crit.
Yeah.
But yes, you can sit proc stuff still.
And I think it's easier, Lestor, when you have a couple things banging on you too, man. Like you do take more damage.
Multiple mobs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So for AoE farming, you can just spam it, and you'll definitely get hits all the time. You'll see reckoning and Redoubt procs flying off the shelves.
It feels like you're getting chunked though. That's in my experience when I was doing it. It felt like I was taking massive damage, and I wasn't getting as much value as I was on the private servers with it. So I ended up just not doing it when I was AoE farming.
I've seen videos of guys. I could replicate it almost every hit. Like I think I'm up to 80, probably 90% every single hit with timing in the batch.
So if I know you're not into it, but if you had to AoE farm and go Holy Prod or whatever, you would still, with 10 mobs on you, still be spamming that macro to try and get the super light value?
I would spam until I got Redoubt up, and then after a few hits and a few blocks, I'd spam it again, yeah.
Cheese and rice. Okay, I'm going to have to start experimenting with that again and not give up on the dream. Okay, so Redoubt, amazing.
They've changed a little bit, I will say, with Reckoning specifically as we get down to it. We could just talk about it now because it kind of ties into Redoubt.
Mm-hmm.
There have been patches and stuff. Reckoning kind of got broken there for a little bit. It's back more so now, a little bit back. There was some problems with not facing the target or Reckoning stacks not proccing, but it absolutely still works. And anybody, you see all the comments in the videos on old guides oh, you can't sit Reckoning anymore, this guide doesn't work, on the old Paladin guide we did.
Mm-hmm.
But you absolutely, it takes a little bit more timing, a little bit more effort, but you can absolutely still sit proc stuff.
That's crazy, man. Okay, let's move on to the next talent here. Precision, 3% hit, seems good.
Yep, super good. Mandatory for Ret and Proc both. This is super important for threat and damage both in those specs. I don't see any like super endgame Ret build taking anything except this, unless you're like super geared and you have way too much hit. Then this is absolutely a talent you need.
I feel like you're a Guardian's favorite Doomer. That's just my gut. This is what my gut says.
I love me some Guardian's.
You love you some Guardian's favor for real, dude?
If I'm PvPing, I always never. I'm on a PvP server,
Okay.
so I almost always have this talent when I'm specting.
Okay. I love Guardian's favor as well. 3-minute bops are insane, and when you have 3-minute bops, Lestor, I pretty much use bubble and bop offensively. To both to like bandage when you're getting a bunch of people, like you just want to get value out of your heavy rune cloths, and you start taking some mana back up again, so you pull a bunch, and then you can bop bandage yourself, you can bubble bandage yourself, and when that bop is at 3 minutes, it feels like you can do it very frequently with the pulls, right? You're always able to do that. Also, it's a big lifesaver in dungeons as well, like people just get in trouble, you just hit them with that bop, save their life. I love this talent pretty much, so I think this I'm a Guardian's favor fan.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm always getting that for any kind of like PvP spec, especially. That's where it really shines.
Toughness is something that is a talent that you have. A bunch of classes have this. Druids have it. I think warriors have it. A bunch of classes have this. From the feedback I've received from some of the large brain members of the community who are into tanking and stuff, they don't really like it too much. They said even on Druid, it's not that worth it. Getting the slight increase. Even on Druid. How do you feel about this though?
I got to agree. For the most part, it's the only time I'm taking this is if I'm trying to fill to get below and there's no other talents that I really need for the spec that I'm trying to go for. It's a good filler, 5 points. Armor is always kind of good all around the board, but I'm never going out of my way to get this talent. All like you said, all the other classes that kind of have done a lot of theory crafting, even for Protection Paladin, sometimes I'm not taking all of this. So
okay,
it's just not always the best choice.
Are you a okay, so Blessing of Kings?
Kings, again, this is something I would organize with my raid. I always got like one guy or two guys on Kings just in case, and but if I'm PvPing, this is a really good buff, just spot buff, a warrior or anybody in your group in PvP.
Do you personally get it though?
I personally do not get it. I usually skip it.
I knew you were going to do that, bro. So you like, you're kind of min-max with it. Whenever I see something where I take 1 point and I just could add something to my tool chest, like just another thing that even if it's very situational, I usually opt to get it just because it gives me a little bit more flexibility. But I do agree with you. It's probably less efficient. You're probably putting it into something that's gonna.
Yeah, I could put a point. Yeah. I mean, even if it's just like a tiny boost, if I'm not going to be the paladin that's on Kings, it's just a waste of talent point in my head.
Okay, but what if you're in a party and then you have a bunch of other paladins there and you have the space force? I don't know, man. Or PvP or whatever. But I feel you. Put it anyway. So Blessing. I mean, it's an amazing talent. Why
Very good.
Is Blessing of Kings the choice of the greater blessings to generate threat? I looked at that graph the other day, and it looked like Salvation had the higher threat for the spamming of it, or something like that. There was some other blessing.
As far as I know, they all have the same threat. I could be wrong about this again. I'm sure Ascalon would know better than I. But I think they all have the same threat, but Blessing of Kings costs the least mana.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, that makes a lot of sense. That clarifies. Okay, Improve Righteous Fury.
That's why. So Improve Righteous Fury, obviously just strictly tanking.
Super
mandatory if you're trying to do any kind of dungeon raiding tanking. This is even during leveling. So I've seen people argue that you go for this first if you want to tank a lot of dungeons instead of Consecration.
Oh, instead of Consecration. Oh,
yeah.
God,
I've seen people try to argue that before.
Yeah. I
couldn't tell you the math on that as much, but I know it's absolutely mandatory for any kind of tanking.
I think about this back and forth in my head. I was thinking about this before the stream today. Like, you have such good threat while leveling in dungeons with Consecration and just regular Righteous Fury that you may not need it. There's a line that suggests that, but at the same time, it's just good, man. You're just controlling the mob so much better. It's more threat. It's just good, right? It's just good. Like, yeah.
And the big thing also you got to think about is your single target on bosses and stuff.
True, very true.
Because that AoE threat, not many people can touch it. But
the single target,
getting a nice, extra percentage on your on your holy damage and your holy threat.
50% more
seals.
threat modifier on holy. That's so massive, dude.
Yeah.
Like, so it goes up to 90 with this, yeah. It goes up to 90.
Up to 90%. Up to 90%. So essentially, you are now doubling all your holy threat.
All
That's
right.
how we read it.
Shield specialization. This seems pretty juicy too.
So shield specialization is the meta is changing. Actually, you ready for this? It is not taking that much anymore. It's not taking that much. If you're AoE or if you're like an off tank, it's always a good pick, right? If you're taking a lot of damage, you're doing a lot of blocks. This is good, but the idea is to block a lot, and your blocks don't really do a lot. So you just want the block to go off, so you get your Sang, you get your Holy Shield. But for the most part, it's not super mandatory in like raid tanking. And I see that he left. I don't know if he left because he had to go do something, or he left because I said that shield spec was so bad. Not bad, but you guys know what I mean. So I'll kind of keep it going without him. The next talent we got down there is Anticipation. Next to it, it's 2 defense for every skill that you get. There's a really good explanation on why this is not that good in one of Skarm's videos. Skarm's old raider of mine, we played together back on private servers, and I think he's got a really, really good explanation on why like this defense talent for warriors also is just not that good. If you think about the value per talent point that you can get, 10 defense doesn't really do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. You could just go over to, parry, and you get just straight mitigation for the same amount of points. So
you're talking about defense, the defense skill?
Yeah, I kind of moved on to this. So and I was saying, Skarm has a really good explanation on this. It's not always the pick. Defense cap is not as important as we know nowadays, and threat is really the main thing for raid tanking. And while leveling, this just isn't, it's like being a level higher, which in some cases, that could avoid you crushings and crits. But if we're talking about leveling, there's going to be a lot of other choices to pick.
My main thing is I hope that people come up with, an answer to, so toughness and anticipation are, defense and armor are both kind of accomplishing similar goals. Like, apparently there's a misconception with defense that it makes you uncrushable. That's apparently just wrong. Like, that's not how it works. Like, but both of these pretty much just mitigate damage, and I feel like defense mitigates more damage than a slight increase in armor. But because defense pretty much will give you, the way it was described to me by Taladrill is that it's concentrated avoidance. So, you have 0.04% increase to all of your avoidance right that, and if I just think about a slight increase in armor versus that, I feel like this would be better, but don't know for sure. Just kind of going with the gut right there.
Yeah, so both of those not as important as previously thought in the terms of like meta tanking. Like mitigation is just kind of falling off a little bit. We get plenty from gear. You just stack stamina, and usually you're good enough with the amount of armor that you have. So
okay. So, yeah, we're kind of, on the same boat there. Improved Hodge. How do you feel about this?
So, Imp Hodge is something I probably pick up in about 50% of my builds. This is really, really good talent. Anytime I'm going down to Reckoning, anytime I'm going down during Prot, I usually either have 1, 2, or 3 points. It's kind of flexible, but, I mean, really, really good in PvP. Really good for tanking dungeons, extra stuns, extra damage. Because if you're stunned something, it's not hitting you. That's damage mitigation, right?
True. I never thought about it that way. Okay, that's a very good point. Yep.
I think that's something that people don't think about as much. And warriors, with concussion blow, not every build takes concussion blow, but every paladin has Hodge, and Hodge is just straight 6 seconds. Target doesn't attack you, and you can still build threat.
Dude, I'm kind of sold, because right now I took these 3 points out of Imp Hodge and tried putting them into the defense skill so I could get some defense going.
No,
I was flexible. My gut was telling me to go with Imp Hodge, but see, I keep getting debated by a lot of these paladins that are out there telling me to go, straight death bones, straight defense, with all this MP5. Like, I don't know, man. I like Imp Hodge as well. It's just good. 45 seconds, 6 seconds time. It's amazing. Yeah.
Any PvP build that I do definitely always has that as well. So PvP, big talent there. And speaking of PvP, the row next to it,
Imp Concentration Aura?
Imp Concentration Aura again. And you may be thinking to yourself, oh, well, I already have full knockback. right? You do. You have just base concentration aura and spiritual focus. That's 100% for paladins. But in PvP, let's say I'm in a group, it's also silence and interrupt resistance, and the people around me get bonus knockback resistance. So this isn't something to just completely negate out of your head, and especially also in the same light in raids. If you're in a caster group, usually traditionally, or if you're in the sometimes you'll be in the tank group, but most paladin raid compositions, they put you with the casters, the mages, and the other priests, and this is extra knockback resistance for them. So it's not completely out of the ballpark, but I think I don't think this is like super important for any build, but it's still got its value in PvP and raiding both. So absolutely
pretty solid PvP talent. Then we got good old Blessing of Sanctuary, dude. I still remember it was yesterday when you told me about how you thought this was one of the strongest buffs in the game, and it blew my mind. And I'm still touting that same thing. Tell the people, dude. Blessing of Sanctuary.
All right, so this is the same thing I was talking about. This is one of the best mitigation debuffs across like the whole raid buff that you can have. This is like on par with like Prayer of Fortitude and like other stamina buffs, in my opinion. If you're taking a lot of raid damage, there's some fights where it's way more effective than others. If one guy is getting hit, like it's just like a single patchwork, like 3 guys are taking damage the whole fight, obviously you're not going to get as much value. But if it's like a big raid damage fight, this is going to be a super important buff. So I could tell you right now, there was 1 week we did Battle Guard Sartura in AQ40. We did not have this buff, and we wiped twice. And I reassigned Pally Power to one of these buffs instead of Salvation, because I was like, I don't need Salvation on this fight. I don't know. It was bad raid leading. I didn't have you don't need Salvation on that fight, essentially. So I swapped one of my guys to this, and as a healer and a raid leader watching the raid, this is an immediate noticeable difference in the raid taking damage. It's like having like dampen magic on it.
It's like smart healing in a certain extent, but it's not healing. It's like preventing the damage a little bit, but it's smart. It's like chain heal. In the same way chain heal is so good, it has like AI controlling it. Like you kind of have the AI of the game on your side here. Every time you take damage, you get 100% of the time you save that damage, right? It's like
and then on the flip side of this, mandatory paladin talent for tanking, for AoE farming, for both of these. This is, if you're taking a lot of little hits, you're getting a lot of value out of this. And if you're blocking a lot, you're getting a lot of value, damage, and threat out of this, because this is a holy damage. So this is a very, very good talent for very, very a wide range of things. So I always have one of my paladins try to take this in raid. If we have 4 or 5 paladins, I'll throw this on everybody. So
all right, moving on to Reckoning.
Reckoning, here we go. So this is obviously a talent a lot of people talk about. And as we already kind of covered, it's still very viable, still very good. Easy clap any rogue, any warrior that jumps you because of this talent. I think this is still one of the better PvP talents in the whole game.
Kind of selfishly, how does it work for AoE grinding tanks though? It's still good though. I mean, for just like let's say in a dungeon, you're doing dungeons, not necessarily 20 mobs at a time, but you have like 4 or 5 mobs banging on you because you're doing packs.
So, and this kind of ties into the logic of like mitigation becoming less and less useful. You get crit more when you have less defense, so you're going to get more reckoning procs. You're going to get more redoubt procs. You're going to be, being able to reproduce more extra attacks when you have less defense. So you could be taking more damage, but then this translate into more seal hits, more threat, more
reflect damage. Yeah,
more reflect damage.
Because if you're dodging it, they're not reflecting.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is really good. Just anywhere solo content, dungeon content, raiding. I know some raid builds that take this instead of like the one-handed spec.
See, my thing. I'm actually like getting a little bit actually personal here. Right now, I'm down to Holy Shield, and I'm splashing into Holy, going down. I don't have Divine Favor, but I have Illumination. Right, I'm that classic 2031. But a part of me is thinking about going into Ret to get the 5% parry, to get the Benediction, and foregoing Holy Shield and all that. I know that's one deviation. How do you feel about that? Is that a meme?
I would say, I mean, if you're not healing a lot,
because you get Imp Ret Aura too, which is crazy. Yeah,
Imp Ret Aura as well. I think there's a really, really popular build It's not as popular since Reckoning has kind of fallen off because of all the rumors and stuff, but Reckoning is just an amazing build. It's good for if you want to AoE farm. It's good if you want to solo single target farm because you can proc Reckoning on single mobs. It's a very good all-around spec. You just lose out on a lot of the healing aspect, but in terms of like solo performance, that's one of the better builds out there is Reckoning.
Okay, so it seems like you're still really on the Reckoning train. You like Reckoning.
Always.
Reckoning is awesome.
Never hopped off.
Never hopped off the Reckoning train. Just
we had
consistent.
proof. We had proof before Classic out that it was going to be like that, and people still didn't listen to us. So we have old videos from 2006 showing that that's how it was. But
how do you feel about this one-handed weapon specialization? I got you baited by the last point, and I wasn't able to finish off Illumination. I was that guy.
Here we go.
Yeah.
One-handed spec. This is okay. So this talent really depends on what you're doing. There's a very specific time when you take this. And that's almost always if you're exclusively raid tanking.
Okay.
So if I'm really high-end, like main tank, I need some damage mitigation, so I'm wearing like 400, 390 defense, and then I got my spell power on top of it, this is a really good time to take this talent. Because from what I've heard is that one-handed spec also increases your Seal of Righteousness damage.
Okay.
So it's very good for tanking when you're using a fast weapon like Flurry Axe or like a big, tanking weapon like Quail or something. Like this stacking with Imp Seal of Righteousness really does actually push some good threat.
That's awesome.
on your Seal of Righteousness. So if you're not looking to get Reckoning because you think you have too much defense, and you don't think you're getting really crit enough, and you don't want to force sit crits and raids because your healers can't keep up. Again, it's like a very specific time to take it, but
I have both right now. I have both right now. Well, I have this. This is my spec right now. I'll show you right now. It looks like this. I'll show you. Lester's gonna friggin' make fun of me, dude.
I'm gonna tear you apart here.
Oh wait, it's not this. What am I doing? It's this. This is the spec. So I have 4 points in it, so I can still get 5 out of 5 Illumination. I got 1 point in the Lay on Hands. Okay. I got Reckoning.
We're not outlanded.
We're not too far off here. Okay.
I mean, it's. I would say, for like AoE farming, it's a little bit less valuable because you're more worried about like longevity instead of just like damage output. But yeah, as I said, like that very specific main tank looking for more threat. That's kind of when I would look to take one-handed spec. Only if it's only if I have also at the same time Imp Seal of Righteousness.
Okay. All right. Well, finishing off with Big Holy Shield. How do you feel about the Holy Shield?
Big Holy Shield. This is huge for prop paladins and AoE paladins. As we were talking about earlier, anytime you block, you're not getting crit and crush. This is like a mini mitigation buff. This is our shield block, except it also causes damage, huge damage, because of the extra threat. It's 4 charges. So if the average raid boss has a 2-second swing timer, and you have, all 4 of your procs up and you're only tanking the boss, there's a good chance you'll have 30% block up the whole fight.
It's insane.
Sometimes bosses won't even chew through all 4 of your blocks. Just because you're blocking or not blocking, that doesn't mean you're not gaining the mitigation elsewhere, because it's just pushing hit off the table. So if you don't understand how that works, I would really recommend looking into like the hit tables, especially if you want to become a big time raid tank. Pretty much it just, all of your mitigation is first, right? And then you have the hit chance at the end of the table. So the more and more mitigation you have, the more your hit gets pushed off the table. So the raid boss, even if you're just adding like parry or dodge, and you're not parrying or dodging, you're still having a lower chance to get hit the way that the hit tables work.
Here's the thing though. So I hear this all the time in chat. People say, Pallies hit their stride in TBC, and they got so much better in TBC. I'm not denying it. Yeah, they got Crusader Strike. They got some awesome stuff in TBC. But Holy Shield, man, is one of the most fun to use abilities. It's very satisfying to use. It's visually satisfying. It's strong. It kind of almost is that like little Crusader Strike type active ability that you're using every couple of seconds for me. And I really enjoy Holy Shield. And it lines up so perfectly with these small dungeon pulls when you're fighting like, couple mobs at a time, elites in dungeons. Like, you're just getting insane value from it. You can downrank it, so you have a couple different ranks. So you would use a higher rank Holy Shield.
Holy Shield, you can still get the block, and you save a ton of mana. It's like, you know, you're using like a fourth of the mana on rank 1 compared to max rank.
You got 2-3 ranks of Holy Shield, 2-3 ranks of you know, I don't think I only have 2 ranks of each of Consecration and Holy Shield, but you have that. It feels like you have a lot of different abilities, man. It's very satisfying. I really like the way Prot Pally looks and feels in Classic WoW. I'm having so much fun with it. So if people are thinking about making a Prot Pally, I don't think it's a meme. I think it's just a very, very enjoyable experience. I couldn't be having more fun right now on them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of tips and tricks with Holy Shield, like FRD, force proccing, force reactive disc. That's absolutely huge. I think Paladins are, you know, people have argued this long in the past, but Paladins, because of Holy Shield, and FRD stacking with each other, proccing off blocks. That makes them the best AoE tanks because of that. So,
and you know, a greater blessing of Kings,
and greater blessing of Kings,
1100 threat span.
It's like a whole new ballpark right there. It's huge.
Okay, we got through the talents, we got through stats, we got through talents. We're accomplishing a lot here. I know, you know, this is huge, man. I'm having a lot of fun here. So now we're moving on to general strategy. 1 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 60. We're gonna have different approaches on it, but just give the people your general game plan. You start a fresh server comes out tomorrow, and you're rolling. You're by yourself. You're on a Paladin. What is the broad strokes game plan to 60?
For me, if I'm not doing a group like I did on Classic, if I'm just solo, I'm gonna kind of follow the strategy that I kind of laid out a minute ago. I'm gonna go, you know, down the ret tree. I think getting down there, getting that Imp-Ret aura in the mid-20s and Seal of Command in the early 20s, and then into Vengeance, kind of when you start scaling up, you get more agi on your gear, you get more crit. Still very, very good. I used to not think so, but you know, I think Vengeance is still very, very good while leveling. And then into the 40s, when fights become longer and they're a little more attrition based, mobs have more health. I think that kind of pacing and the tempo play of being able to move quickly between fights and swapping over to Blessing of Wisdom and using Seal of Wisdom with command, being able to heal yourself dungeons more efficiently.
Would you be doing dungeons on a fresh? Do you try to heal dungeons and stuff, or are you just trying to...
I would if depending on how fast I go, if I'm like just solo pushing as hard as I can, going for like, you know, as fast as possible, I might be out leveling other people. But if I'm like playing with a field and I'm moving at the head of the pack, then I think dungeons are still really, really good while leveling, especially on a Paladin, on a warrior, where the classes are more gear dependent than anything. I think that's super important, is keeping your gear up to date, and obviously more specifically your weapons up to date. So you'll see me doing those big quest lines, so Scarlet Monastery. You'll see me be getting into Maradon, into the 50s, getting my axe. So all that's really important. So being able to also heal, I think in solo play it keeps the pace up, and it also allows you to become a super, super valuable group play.
All right, makes sense. I will give for whatever it's worth, guys. I just leveled the Paladin to 60, as you guys saw, and if I had to do it all over again, this is the approach I would go. I would go deep ret to start, starting with 10 benediction. I would go the 2 in judgment, but you're kind of selling me here on the deflection. I actually might change that. I was prepared to go 2 judgment, man. Right after.
It's really crazy.
But ultimately, I don't think, based on the single target kill speeds, that they're alive long enough for you to get value from 3 judgments. So you're still be able to connect with 2 judgments. It's just a little bit more staggered. So I'm kind of being sold on the deflection talent, going into Seal of Command. I'm just going down the ret tree. I'm going to assume that I'm on a fresh server with no friends, no help, so I will go Pursuit of Justice, because I'm not going to be able to afford movement speed on boots, and I'm not going to know anybody. I'm going to keep going down pretty much to 31. I'm going to go here, 31, right? So 31, I'm going to respec. I'm going to take an L, I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend gold, and I'm going to respec. And I'm going to respec so that I get Divine Intellect, Spiritual Focus, Consecration, and you get Benediction, and you also get Seal of Command. So this is kind of a weird thing. You might think, Kargoz, you're in the ret tree, you're in the holy tree. This is kind of weird what's going on there. So this is the L I'm taking, and this is the positive that I'm getting from this. I'm going to lose some single target damage here. I'm going to lose some of the movement speed from Pursuit of Justice. I'm going to lose, for at least for a little bit. I'm going to lose the crit. I'm going to lose the raw damage increase with the two-hander. But what I gain from this is I'm never dying ever again, ever. Because I have spiritual focus. I'm just never going to die anymore because there really should be no reason I should die if I have spiritual focus and concentration aura. So I get that upside. It's like a penny saved is a penny earned. You just no longer died. You're just pushing death off the game options. Like, it's insane. And then with consecration, you're able to, you'd be able to do dungeons and tank dungeons really seamlessly. You could do that without consecration, but I think it would make it more enjoyable and fun. You could go this spec. And pretty much at this point from 31 forward, I would keep proceeding down the ret tree. I'd get Pursuit of Justice, and I'd keep going. And I'm going to respec again at 41. So I'm going to get this improved Retribution aura. I'll get a few points in two-handed weapon specialization. I would have got Sanctity aura, but you kind of sold me on it. So at 41, I'm going to respec to an AoE spec. And the AoE spec I'm going to respec to is, it looks like this. It's, going in Prot Tree primarily. We're going to get 3 points in Guardian's Favor, Righteous Fury, Shield spec, this. This is what it's looking like at 41. There's some stuff that is not going to help me personally AoE grind super effectively. I'm not buffing myself with Blessing of Kings, right? I'm not really hodging all that. I'm not hodging multiple times per packs, but this is ultimate quality of life type stuff. If I get into a PvP altercation, if I have to do a dungeon, whatever, I just have lots of tools in the chest, right? So from this point, at 41, I'd be going to Dustswallow Marsh, and I would be doing the Murlocs in the northeast corner of Dustswallow Marsh, and I'd be proceeding...
Yeah, looking for those AoE spots.
Looking for those AoE spots, and I'd be proceeding down the Protection Tree, getting Reckoning, getting two-handed weapon specialization, getting one-handed weapon specialization, getting Holy Shield at 51. Along the way, after the Murlocs, I would go immediately to the Fire Rocks in Tanarus, that right southwest of Gadgetzan, and I would kill the Fire Rocks and the Hyenas. That'd be my next spot, because the main thing when you're AoE grinding as a Paladin is you don't want stuff to run away from you. When stuff runs away from you, it's a nightmare. You can't pull that well. You can't chase stuff down that well. It's a nightmare. The second that one runner pulls another pack, you've just doubled your kill speed in length, and it just quickly becomes not efficient, right? So I would go from Murlocs and northeast Dustswallow to the Fire Rocks and Hyenas in Gadgetzan. From there, after that, I would go to Skull Rock and do the Oozes from about 46 to 50, which is another fantastic spot. Skull Rock and those Troll Ruins, Hinterlands, very scenic ambient zone. And then from 50 to 54, I would do Sorrow Hill, which is also, again, fantastic, but there is a likelihood of it being contested. If that is the case, you can do AVs, you can do whatever. At 51 in the dot, I would pick up an Ice Barb Spear real quick from AV, because that's just big plays. One win, you get the Ice Barb Spear, and I would finish off like we did on stream from 54 to 60 in Dawson's Theors. That's the that's the general game plan. I moved a little bit quick through that, but hopefully you understand the general game plan. Yeah, and some of the things I would do on the way. There, because I know my eventual game plan is to AoE grind, there's some stuff that I would definitely do differently on the way up to that point in time. Stuff that I would do differently is I would, when level appropriate, I would go grind the whelps in the wetlands, and I would kill them, and I would get hundreds of small flame sacks. I would get hundreds of them. I would just sit there and kill them because I want to have enough chili to get me to 60. Dragon Breath chili is the consumable I'm talking about. This is super strong, and it also,
especially at early levels, and a raid consumable.
Yep. So they take one small flame sack, one mystery meat. You're gonna get all the mystery meat from killing the rocks and the hyenas and all that in Tanarus. You're going to get a ton of it there. You can also buy some off the auction house. It's really cheap. The recipe is cheap off the auction house. But you're going to get all these flame sacks from the wetlands. They're perfect targets to kill as ret because they are they're squishy. They don't have a lot of armor.
Really
you can just tear them apart. You can just chill out. Kind of just, they don't run, I don't think, because they're whelps, right? I would just smack those things to death. Get as many small flame sacks. You could also just sell them for straight up gold because they sell for a lot, man. And you can start doing that in the wetlands pretty early. I think it's at 23 to 24 is the whelps level range in the wetlands, so I would do that. I would also stay on top of first aid immensely because first aid sounds like it's not that good because you're a paladin, you can just heal yourself, but it's actually really good because you can bubble bandage, you can bot bandage, and those I really cannot overstate how important those types of things are. Let me pause for a second. I would also start, as you're leveling up, if you do plan on AoE grinding, keep an eye on all the stuff on the auction house that you're going to need later on. Like, look for shield spike prices. Try to find a cheap shield spike. Keep your mind on that. Try to find a blacksmith ahead of time and be like, hey, man, I'm going to need you in a few levels, man. Can you help me out a few levels? Attach a shield spike. I would go look at fire bloom prices, because you're going to have to make oil of immolation. Look at oil of immolation prices. That consumable slaps even harder than Dragon Breath Chili. It just kind of doesn't have as much long-lasting impact because you have to use one per pull, but they're pretty cheap. Things like that. This is the general game plan. There's more stuff to go over. Anyway, let me see here. I'm talking a lot. So we did the talents. Early leveling tips. Let's start there, Lestor. Let's get Lestor back engaged with the game. Here.
All right, here we go.
Early leveling tips to a new pally, never played before, whatever. What are some early tips?
What are some early tips? For me, some of the early tips going into like 1 to 10 or 10 to 11, those really, really early game, it's all going to be about just your spirit ticks for me. So a lot of the fights are going to be really short. So I would say for the most part, just try to put up a seal, judge once, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So if you're judging, if you're fighting mobs a little bit higher than you at early levels, sometimes those fights can take a little bit longer. So Seal of the Crusader are pretty good. So as we come to point number 1, you want to be facing away when you judge. And this is also something that comes in when you're wreck bombing something specifically. You want to face away when you judge. Because 2 things. Judgment is off the global cooldown, so you can use it anytime. And 2, when you judge, it automatically /starts attack. So if you're facing something and you judge, you're just going to swing at it. If you're starting the combat, you're just going to swing at it, and you're not going to have a seal equipped. So all you have to do is face and turn around, judge from behind you, and then equip your seal and turn back around, and you get full value without having out on your.
That's a big deal, though. You might be thinking, I'm just going to miss 1 auto attack worth of seal. That's actually a very big deal, especially if you have a big slow weapon like 3.6 or something like that. Like, you're going to miss 4 seconds worth of seal value based on the procs per minute and everything. That could have procced into a massive seal to command, smack. So
yep.
It's a very big deal. And like he said, judgment, you do not have to be facing your target. You can be facing the exact opposite direction. So you literally face the other direction, and before you turn around and smack them, you reapply the seal. I just want to drive it home again, because that was something that's not intuitive whatsoever, right? It's not intuitive whatsoever.
And another bigger gameplay thing, as I was talking about with improved Blessing of Might, sometimes it's just not worth it. Like, if you're not at the end game, you don't have a lot of AP stacking and stuff, or you don't have other melee with you, Blessing of Wisdom as an overall is going to increase the amount of heals you can get off. It stacks with your spirit, so it's like you get your spirit ticks and you get your MP5 ticks. Having early MP5, it's hard to describe, but it's a noticeable difference.
Very noticeable. But I will also say, don't take anything we're saying completely at face value, because if you just go in there and say Blessing of Wisdom is always better than Blessing of Might, like my dumbass put with a little carrot looking to the left, that's also wrong too, because I found myself during instances while leveling that I was mana capping. If you are mana capping, don't mana cap. What do I mean by mana cap? You're just sitting at 100% mana. Like, I'm not making use of the full benefit of Wisdom, so I would consciously actually bless Might. So I did use Blessing of Might throughout certain times because I was mana capped. I literally was mana capped, and based on the ebb and flow of combat. Because if you're traveling 15-20 seconds between mobs, right, Lestor? Like, you're literally just trying to go to a city, right? You're going to a city, you're killing a few mobs along the way. What do you need all that sustain for? Blessing of Wisdom really shines when you're just in the trenches, sustained grinding against mob after mob after mob after mob, right? So think for yourself here and think about what does the blessing actually do, right? So
then just a small tip coming into number 3, Seal of the Crusader increases your attack speed. So the faster you hit stuff, the more you level weapons. So if you just got a new weapon upgrade at 19, 20, like you got that new Smite's Hammer, but you haven't used a mace since level 4, and your weapon skill is bad, just go find some lower level mobs, whack on them with Seal of the Crusader, and that's the fastest way to level up your speed. And actually, fun little tip, the rats, the deep run tram rats in the tram, I don't know if you know about these, they almost instantly respawn after about 3 seconds. They're immediate spawns, essentially. You can just wail on them. all day, and they give weapon skill.
Dude, that's insane. That's a huge tip. And you're trying to find groups or something, and you're literally just chilling. You can literally go to the tram and do that. I got to do that right now with my polearm. Actually, that's the biggest play.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You go to the tram in Ironforge, and they're right there as you go into the left.
Wow.
And you can just put on Seal the Crusader, and you're hitting as fast as you can, and you'll get a big pile of rats and a whole lot of weapon speed.
Wow, dude, that's big brain, man. That's actually big brain. I got to do that myself. So here's another thing that you know what really grinds my gears, Lestor, as a new pally here, man. It really grinds my gears is when I'm in a dungeon, when I'm doing group content, and these other pallies that I'm with, they don't judge some kind of productive seal to make use of the debuffs, man. It drives me up the walls, fam. Like, I'm with the Ret Paladin or whatever, and he's not. It happened to me last night in Skolamans. I hope he's not watching. That would suck. But, I'm in Skolamans. I'm tanking, right? And he's not putting up Seal of the Crusader. He's not putting up Wisdom. He's not putting Seal of Wisdom. He's either Judgment of Wisdom. He's not putting up Judgment of Light. Like, put something up. Don't just stand there and be a Ret Paladin. Use your abilities, man, please. So whether it's a Justice on a humanoid target to stop it from fleeing, whether it's just a Light to give your group more health, you know, every time you're hitting it, or whatever. And also, if you're in group content, and you are healing, even, right? Don't just completely forget that you can do damage too, man. That drives me nuts. Just swing on the mobs, man. Like, some mobs can silence, right? Which is unfortunate. They do that AoE radius silence or kick, which but you do have bubble at the same time. So as long as you have bubble off cooldown, for the love of God, judge something and swing on the target. It costs you nothing. It adds damage. Don't just sit in the back like a brain dead person spamming flat. Like, it drives me nuts, man. I don't know if you
just judge Wisdom and hit it with Seal of Wisdom up. Like, you'll get more mana after a few hits than you spent. It's a great way to keep your mana up and also be actively on the target.
And actually play the video game. And that's one of the benefits and the amenities of your class that separates you apart from other healers and stuff like that too, man. Like, use one small amount of mana to throw 30 seconds worth of damage on you. And look at that lifetime value worth of mana spent for the group, right? If you're a healer and you judge Wisdom and you throw up, what would you throw up as a healer just to get a little something done? Throw up a Wisdom on yourself, or maybe just a Righteousness or whatever, and swing on the target. It's just I don't know, man.
Absolutely. It just adds up.
That will separate you a lot if you judge Justice on humanoids. I'll tell you right now. I notice every time. If someone does that. If a Warlock puts up Curse of Recklessness on a humanoid, if a Paladin judges Justice, I notice every single time, and I go, all right, this person's on Gamer Octave number 2. He's not Gamer Octave number 1. Like, because that's just basic manners, man. Anyway.
On the next slide, we just got a few more real early game tips. I mean, a lot of stuff here, just general leveling pass stuff. Like you were talking about, we got down there, the whelps, really important. Those Dragon Breath chilies, easy mobs to farm, and they give a really good consumable reagent. So
I just wrote these down as tips that I would do if I did it all over again. Do you have anything? Because you play a human paladin. If there's anything right now, you can just like visualize that you think you do that's kind of a nice little power play or something like. Think about it, like for me, if you're gonna go for the Varigan's Fist, especially if you're gonna try and do that, definitely do the death skip over to Menethil so you get that flight path. So if you're trying to get over into Kalimdor, it's way easier for you, right? So when you're over doing the dwarf thing, you're in the northwest by Nomergon, make sure you die over to Menethil and get that. It's gonna make it because get the flight path over to Menethil, then Hearth back.
I would say one of the main things that I see a lot of people, and I think more people have been doing it now, but at least early in Classic it wasn't as common. Use Dark Shore. Go to Dark Shore. It's amazing. You can do that Menethil skip like he's talking about, and you can just fly through Dark Shore. It's seriously one of the best leveling zones in the entire game. So I think that's one of the main paths that people should be adding to their guides is
Dark Shore.
Loch Medan. There's a few good quests in there. You can get the Trog Slicer and stuff, but really Dark Shore is super underrated in my opinion in human leveling guides, and I think it's something you can just go back to because after you go there once, you get the flight path, you got the boat, and you're there. And there's good level ranges at 12 to 13 after you do your first little batch of Westfall. You run there, and then you can come back later in the super north and the super south of the zone. There's some really, really great quests around 16, 17, 18, and and it's just staying there in Darkshore for a while puts out a lot of value. There's not a lot else you're gonna do on that side of the map for a while. Like I know you don't do a lot of Ash and Vale usually, but just Darkshore is a really good boost into the 20 level range, so you can get into Red Ridge faster. And
good tip. A lot of humans and dwarves sleep on it. Yeah, it's a good point.
Definitely.
Another thing that I did specifically, and I would do it again, and I thought it was a big brain move. I don't know if you guys watched it on stream. So you guys know the cloth turn-ins, Lestor, where you get XP for it?
Absolutely.
So you need to be a certain level to do the different tiers, right? And the early turn-ins for cloth don't give you that much. The wool and silk is fine. It gives you a good little chunk, but it's not that much. You really start to get that money when you're up in the Mage Weave and Rune Cloth, right? Yeah. So in order to turn in Mage Weave, you got to be level 40. And then what else you got to do is you got to get level 41 so you can start AoE grinding. So if so facto, at 40, you go do all your Mage Weave and all the cloth turn-ins, so that you go 40 to 41, which is what you're dying to get, because you're like, yo, I'm so close to being able to AoE grind. Like, I hate this game, dude. I'm just trying to get the AoE grind already, man. Like, please, I just want to start AoE grind with my shield spike already, man. I need that so bad. Do all of your cloth turn-ins, you're going to get probably almost half a level, man. I think it was about 40% of a level. Just boom, right there. Like, just get it all done. So you can start saving up, working up towards that, and you're going to take one of the most painful levels and accelerate it. And then you're going to unlock a whole new world of AoE grinding, and your motivation is going to, like, spike back up, like, really high again. And that's part of the reason why it didn't look like I burned out when you watched me level my Paladin, because I was having so much fun. I had a big slapper two-hander on my ret, and ret was really fun, and then I unlocked AoE, so it was like a whole new game. These are the type of things.
And then just general stuff about like alch herb mining, engie mining, like general profession stuffs, and like he was talking about, don't underrate first aid, don't underrate cooking. Like even if you're trying to keep the pace level fast, these are still things that are very, very worth it. Food buffs go a long way. You're going to be killing a lot of beasts. You're going to be killing a lot of humanoids. You're going to get the meat. You're going to get the cloth. You might as well use it, right? It just takes a couple of minutes to craft, and these are buffs that'll last you through multiple farming sessions. So
absolutely,
definitely don't underrate it.
What about if gun to your head, you had to start on a fresh server as your main and everything? What professions would you do leveling Paladin? If you had to do the whole thing over again, Classic came out tomorrow, what would you do? I
would most likely just do the basic. I would just stick with skinning, and then I would keep up my fishing my first aid and cooking. And again, skinning is a staple for a lot of leveling guides. Good vendor money, good money on the auction house, people trying to level leatherworking. So but as you get into those higher levels, paladins are really good herbers, really good miners. They can stun, they can repentance stuff, and pick or mine a node. So both of those gathering professions really good on paladins.
For me, this is what I would do. I would get level 10, and I would go look at your server. You play on a high pop, you play on a low pop, you play on PvP, you play on PvE. If you check the auction house, and there's a lot of swiftness potions, and they're cheap, because that's the meta of your auction house. People, for whatever reason, it doesn't sell, or maybe it's on a PvE server. And there's lots of cheap swiftness potions. There's lots of cheap potions in general for the potions you need, and you do want to AoE grind later or whatever. Then you may not have to go alchemy, right? But for me, alchemy is a strong consideration, because I was on a very lower pop server when I leveled my guy, and there was really no swiftness potions on the auction house. Arcane elixirs were rare. Immolation oil was rare. All these things are rare, so I had to make them myself. And I actually did end up making lots of healing potions, mana potions for myself. All that, it helped a lot. The other one is mining herb. So if you know you're going to be living in Dire Maul at 60, and you're going to do the best gold farming method in the game at 60, and then leveling mining and herbalism is kind of annoying after the fact. So there is a consideration to go mining herb while leveling. It's just something to think about.
Keep it up to pace. Just making that money at the end game.
And the other thing is engineering mining. So engineering, very important on paladins, primarily in my mind. Yeah, all the gadgets and gizmos are fantastic, but one of the major things that sucks for paladin is that you suck at pulling. So the fact that you can just lob a grenade so far away, and that's a pulling tool for you, is...
Grenades are a game changer.
It's fixing one of your main pain points as a class, engineering, right? It could just be a copper bomb. It doesn't even matter. The fact that you can pull just from range, is absolutely huge. You're playing on a PvP server. This is a much stronger consideration. So that's kind of my thoughts on the cooking. Anyway, you can tank any dungeon without. You can tank the early dungeons without consecrate. I talked about that a little bit earlier. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Let me go back to the agenda. Let's see what we got here. Early tips and tricks. Weapon progression. Then we have... Okay. Weapon progression. How do you feel about this weapon progression? I'm going to pull it up right here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this?
So I think you know, there are a couple more things that you could look out for. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, you know, through the first like 4 levels, there's like a gray mace called like the Cracked Sledge or something, and it's like crazy good. It's like just as good as like a white, and they drop pretty randomly off mobs. But yeah, I think
the gray sledge. I gotta find.
Yeah,
this.
it's called like the Cracked Sledge or something like that.
Correct.
It's literally just like a gray mace, and it's usually like one of the first upgrades that I get.
We gotta get the chat on it. The Cracked Sledge.
Here it is.
Look it up.
Cracked Sledge. I just found it.
Cracked Sledge, dude. Is this the most big brain plays? Let me see.
It's like a 4 DPS weapon at level 4.
At level 4, it's free, and it just drops off.
It drops off of like great. I feel like I almost always get one while I'm leveling.
That's so funny.
It's just like a funny little thing, but you know, going into
it drops off the young Night Sabers, the young Scavengers, young Wolves. So pretty much just all those little wolves that you're killing in Elwyn Forest and Northshire Abbey or whatever can drop the Cracked Sledge.
And like all the kobolds, they drop them next to the little shovels that they drop. It's
Classic
crazy.
WoW is the best game of all time, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, you thought it was pretty big brain when you're using white weapons, right? White weapons from the vendors ended up being pretty good and serviceable. Now we're talking gray weapon, dude. That is hilarious, dude.
It's huge.
The Cracked Sledge, big pumper, 3.8 DPS, 3.3 speed.
It's better than the Defias quest line in the first area. It's better than the weapon that you get from that quest. So
that is too freaking funny, guys. You gotta get the Cracked Sledge, man.
The Coldridge Hammer is a staple. Sometimes you don't pick that up on humans until you're like level 11 or 10 or 11, and you do your normal path 1st, and then into Dun Moreau late, and you just pick up like the Trog quest and the protecting the herd. Coldridge Hammer is super good though.
Would you buy Wooden Mallet? So this is one thing. Out of all the white starting white weapons, this is the highest DPS one out of like all of them compared to the axe, compared to everything. But it also costs the most. So if it was actually you on a server right now, Lester, like you have to actually visualize yourself on the new fresh that you're going to be as your main character. It's not a meme character, throwaway character. This is your real character. Are you buying Wooden Mallet at, for 7 silver?
No, I'm not.
You're just gonna rock the Cracked Sledge a little bit.
I'm just gonna rack whatever
the Cracked Sledge
or the Cracked Sledge and wait until.
Well, you'd be using it. You'd be using it all the way up until Coldridge Hammer, though. What's better? It's 5.0 DPS. Like
pretty much.
You're using it till level 11, though. You really not gonna buy it?
No, not unless I got the extra money from like some extra grade drops or something. I think getting all of the early spells for Paladin are so strong. The new rank of Holy Light is like 2/3 of your health bar. I think getting the newest ranks of everything immediately, that's super important.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the stream knows me. I like to spend money, dude. It's probably to my detriment most of the time. I like to waste money on consumables. I like to buy stuff.
If you can afford it, maybe. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm a big Wooden Mallet believer, dude. I'm a Wooden Mallet kind of guy.
If you get the Coldridge, I think you could skip the Claymore too.
Skip the Claymore. I buy Wooden Mallet, and I was a Dwarf Paladin, and I had Coldridge Hammer on the horizon. I used Wooden Mallet for like 45 minutes, and it was worth my 7 silver. I was like, hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Into some of the higher level stuff, I think the edge of the People's Militia is kind of like a tricky one because it says like it's level 11, 12 available.
Level 9, you can get it at level 9, start the whole chain, but the final mobs you kill are 13 to 18. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that one is usually actually a little bit later, but it's still very 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 good. And then I remember I bought the heavy spiked mace. Actually, I forced some of my players to give me it, and I was like carrying the damage of the group that we had for a couple of levels because of it. So I think once you get up into like the mid range, the 15, and then again as you go to the next slide, actually that's perfect. If you want to even save up, if you're skipping Dead Mines and you're going for the huge play, you get the Executioner Sword. If you can be the first person on the server to buy the Executioner Sword, and if you're skipping Dead Mines, like you're not dungeon leveling or anything, you can fly with it instead of Smite's
Executioner Sword. It's so cool that you have to save up and make these little like massive purchases at low levels, and it like makes you so strong from the traveling roaming vendors.
If you have a group and you can get the Orc Crusher, that's a really tough quest though. That's like a quest that I wouldn't even recommend doing until like you're 23, 22, 23 even as like an average. I mean, you can walk in there with like 520s and probably pull it off, but that's a very hard quest to do at level 18. So
how do you feel about Varrigan's Fist overall, though? The level 20 class quest.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. This is hot topic right here.
This is one of the most asked questions that I get is, should I do Varrigan's Fist? Short answer is no, you should not. If you are going fast and you are racing, and it's a fresh server, you should not do Varrigan's Fist.
I didn't get it either.
The amount of time you will save in combat due to Varrigan's Fist will not outweigh the time spent getting the weapon. And
here's the thing though. Let's look at what is the next upgrade from Varrigan's Fist. It looks like it's it would be Rock Pulverizer from Badlands level 30. But that's that's kind of a tricky weapon though. That's really hard to get right at 30. Yeah.
Usually, I think for most people, the next upgrade
Archeus. But it's not even really an upgrade. It's less than Varrigan's Fist.
If you do that quest, but it is better if you count. I'm pretty sure it's got a good PPM. So
here's the thing though. So what if you like totally min max the shit out of the Varrigan's Fist? Like, and here's my thing. If you were to do Dead Mines, right? Let's say you were to do Dead Mines. And if either Smite's Mighty Hammer or Taskmaster Axe dropped, you would say, I'm not doing Varrigan's Fist. You have two shots at it, right? You have two bosses that can drop it for you, right? If neither of them drop the weapon, then you have progressed your White Oak Wood, and you've already done Dead Mines, right? Which is one part of it. The other piece is from the Lochmadon or whatever. Apparently, the SFK one... You can either... It's
pretty easy.
Do it with one other person who can, like... Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too hard. That one actually isn't that bad.
The SFK, and then the traumatizing one is BFD, but you can do it outside of the instance. You just got to kill the thing right outside of the instance.
If you have a group, like, specifically designed, like, if you're, like, 3 or 4 paladins working together, you can knock it out in actually about, like, an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then it's definitely worth. But if you're just trying to form pug groups and, like, do the dungeon, you usually don't get this weapon until, like, 24 at that rate anyways. You usually get it pretty late.
I would want to get it right off the bat like that. I mean, that's the thing. If you're playing on a fresh server and you have a bunch of highly motivated paladins that are down to get it done, that's the most compelling reason to do it, right? I didn't do Varrigan's Fist myself, and right now on an established servers right now, you're not going to find people that are going to be down to do Varrigan's Fist for you, bro. Unless you get a 60 who's like down to help you, right? You have another account or something. What if you had another account? A lot of people are in that position right now. They just have a 60 friend.
Absolutely.
Then get it on with that, right?
I would say boost your character. You'll use this weapon until you're level 30.
So if you can get some help from a higher level 60, which we should be able to at this point in time, right? Just have someone help you out a little bit. Maybe port you. What if you got a mage to port you, right? From Stormwind over or something? And
there you go.
So it is a good weapon to get, but it's...
Yeah, it's by far the strongest weapon you can get at its level range. But it's probably like one of the biggest time investments at low level. So it is kind of a tricky problem. But if you're leveling by yourself, I say just...
Forgo it.
Just skip it. Yeah.
Yep. No, we're on the same page. I didn't end up getting it myself. So Archeus is an option, and then for me, the weapon progression goes up to here, basically to Bonebiter and Ravager, because I'm gonna start AoE grinding after the fact. But the one thing to keep in mind, guys, is the white weapons are actually pretty serviceable in this game. They kind of are remotely competitive with weapons of that level. So, just if you're feeling like your weapon is super out of date, I would check the weapon vendors and see. You know, believe it or not, if they have a weapon that could be superior than what you have. It's just something to keep as a general rule.
And there's, and I know, like, you got Bonebiter there, but I know there's, like, a lot of value if you plan on AoE grinding right after of getting either the RFD sword, the Sword of Omen, or the Sword of Serenity from the quest from In the Name of Light. Both of those one-handers are very, very strong. Decent speed. They're like medium, fast-ish speed. So, if you're going traditional ret, Bonebiter is really, really, really big upgrade. If you can get Cath done in your 39, 40, 41 level range, that'll be a huge piece. But
it's like Whirlwind Axe level for a Paladin.
Yeah. It's like your Whirlwind Axe almost.
Yep.
And then into like the later game, you could start looking at like, just like any weapon you find out of dungeons usually is like into Zul'Farrak, or if you end up doing ST or Maradon specifically for the Gator Bite Axe, that one's a lot of paladins pick that one up off of the Gator boss under Princess. There's always Sword of Serenity. Yeah, that's what it's called. And if you're one-hand AoE grinding, don't be afraid to pick Sword of Serenity or go for just like a fast weapon, because if you're AoE grinding, then your damage doesn't matter as much. I would focus much more on speed.
On speed, yep.
Because Judgment of Wisdom is a flat % chance. So the faster you hit, the more mana you're going to get back. So
absolutely. Another thing I remembered, if you do plan on making the switch to Holy Prot at 41, and sometimes you just want to switch it up. If you've been playing a lot and you're just bored, you want to switch it up and do something different, do Nomergon with the quests. I know that I say that lightly because Nomergon is pretty legendary for being absolute AIDS, but do Nomergon and try to get the workshop key, so you can do it later if you want. But there's 2 things out of Nomergon that are really good. If you do all the quests, you can kind of make it somewhat worth it, or find someone with the key. And it's the headpiece. You can use that at 60. If I had that right now, I'd use it at 60. It's kind of a low drop chance, but it gives you
is really, really good.
Yeah, it gives you like a 10-minute buff. It's got a 30-minute cooldown, so it's got a decent uptime, and it gives you like an AoE, electric reflect shit. So that, and then also the shield is a good shield, a starter shield to use at 41.
Yep.
It drops pretty frequently. It deals damage like on hit. Those are like some of the most juicy things you can get when you're AoE grinding.
Little nature reflect proc.
Little nature reflect proc. So you do all the quests, knock them all out. It might actually be worth your time as well. So
yeah, and then into the later levels, like if you win right now, as soon as you hit 51, you're gonna feel like you're getting carried. Just play a game of Alterac Valley. Get your Ice Barb Sphere. It is just on another level of level 51 weapons available to you. But if it's a fresh server, and you're getting closer to 60, try to pop in a BRD. There's the Angerforge axe, really isn't that bad, even though it's a little fast. I think it's like 2.8. It's still a really good axe. Or just try to go big money Dreadforge Retaliator.
Big money.
You could use Dreadforge Retaliator into like early raids as a ret, or just as like a solo content thing, and no one would blink. That's a very, very good axe at that really high level range. So, and just some of the stuff for the higher levels.
You could start healing BRD at what level you think? You personally?
Oh, you could heal. You could heal an Emp run probably at 54, 53 if you had the right Imp gear.
I think even less, bro.
Maybe even if you had a right group. If I'm within like my 5-man organized group and we're like, hey, let's go kill an Emp, I'm level 51, 52.
I was tanking Elbers in BRD at like 53 to 55 range, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
It's people overhype the content a little bit. Like you can actually, especially with healing, man. You throw a Blessing of Light, man. I mean, you could probably even do it at 50, man.
If you really were pushing it, you can get into BRD early.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of gear that you can look out for in there. That's really when you want to start looking at your pre-raid lists. Sometimes even before that, but as you get up into those levels, if you're dungeon grinding, don't be afraid to look for weapons, look for gear that you're gonna need for a while, even if it's second or third bis.
Yep. All right. So we got that's weapon progression. AoE grinding. Let's see here. So AoE grinding, I'll make it real simple. I'll do it in like 2 minutes. AoE grinding as a paladin, you want a couple things. You want a shield spike, you want Blessing of Sanctuary, you want Consecration, you want Retribution Aura. You can get that whole suite at 41. 41 you can do it. You pull a bunch of mobs, you walk in there, you judge wisdom, you use Seal of Wisdom, right? You throw down Consecrates. Also, very important, very important. I don't know if you love this, Lestor. I love this. Rank 1 Consecrate is unbelievable, dude. Rank 1 Consecrate allows you to leash things behind you forever.
Yep.
Forever. Only class I've ever seen that can do this. Only class I've ever seen. I mean, I guess maybe Warriors could have like Piercing Howl and stuff, but the thing is they can't really sustain that damage like as well.
They need the rage.
So, yeah, they need the rage, right? But you can just rank 1 Consecrate all day, every day, until the amount of mobs that you've gathered is sufficient, and then kill them all. So you gather everything with rank 1 Consecrate. Then you use max rank Consecrate. You have Seal of Wisdom, Judgment of Wisdom. You have to anticipate the damage because it takes a global to switch over from Retribution Aura to Concentration Aura. So anticipate the damage, think a couple seconds ahead of time, and when you're about to take big damage, you swap over to Concentration, heal yourself with a Fat Holy Light, and then swap back to Retribution Aura, rinse and repeat. That's pretty much it. Some of these consumables that you need is that you can use to make it better is Arcane Elixirs, Immolation Oil, Gift of Arthas is okay. Make healing and mana pots are always good. Buy cheap mana pots off the auction house. That's another big tip. That's what I did while leveling. Just found the greater mana pots. They're really cheap, like 40 silver for 5 of them. So you get a bunch of those, and then
the little like not even greater, but the ones below that are also still very good.
Yeah, still very good. Any mana potion, give you a couple hundred mana, a little like that. Really good, very cheap. The shield spike, ideally, you want to get thorium, but just get what you can afford. Even an iron shield spike is going to be pretty solid. The shield spike doesn't do as much damage as you would think. It ended up being about 5% damage for me, which is still very good, right? But Dragon Breath Chili does about 5% damage, and I don't know. I mean, Dragon Breath Chili makes a very big impact, though. Here's the thing about Dragon Breath Chili, though. You can't step in water when you have it on. You can't stone form with it on. You can't cleanse yourself. It's a very, very sensitive buff. And you cannot eat any food. If you eat any food with Dragon Breath Chili on, it will take it off. So you need to bandage yourself or you need to heal yourself. If you eat any food, it will remove your expensive-ass buff.
It's a tricky buff, but it is very, very good.
Yes, very good.
You get a couple procs, you'll notice just huge damage spike, even with 1 or 2 procs in a pull.
Another thing, if you can afford it, is to get a weapon chain on your weapon, because some of the AoE grinding spots, if you want to do some different ones like Pirates and Tantarus were a non-starter, not only because they run away and the stuff's spawning like crazy all around you, but they disarm you. So you're going to have low unarmed skill, because you're just going to be soaring through the levels, and you're just not going to be able to do it, right? So that's why you want to opt for places that don't have that. But either way, I would be checking the auction house too for stuff like Flurry Axe. I bought mine pretty early. Skull Flame, things like this. Man, let's see. AoE grinding tips. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any specific questions right now about AoE grinding, please ask them. Please ask them as well. Some quick tips about that about the professions. This is the stuff that you can make. With Herbalism Alchemy, you can make all these consumables for yourself, and then there's good money making in DM East with Lashers, because you can turn those herbs into potions, like the Greater Rage potions, and actually get that. You get more money off of it in the grand scheme of things if you were to turn those herbs into the next level and sell them on raid day and stuff like that. Mining Engineering, we talked about that. Mining Engineering, you can use the NG Shield at 60, better in PvP. Mining Engineering, the mining will be good money in Dire Maul East, of course. Let's see here. That might be it, dude. We've gone through a lot. Okay. Anything come to mind with tanking, healing, or DPS tips? You might feel the most passionate about healing, Lestor. Is there any healing tips for Paladins?
So we want to start with healing?
Yeah, because I've been talking about tanking a good amount. What about some healing tips? So, there's new Paladins and there are great Paladins. What what are the hot takes?
Okay, so for healing, here we go. I would say the number one thing that I would learn, and this is what I tell a lot of people. They come in, they ask me about their parses, they ask me how can I get better. This is the stuff that I tell them. I usually say, 1, you're not casting enough. You need to always be casting. The higher your uptime on casts, the better. If you're cancel casting, that's good, but even then, sometimes just let the heal fly. Like if you're only going to get half of your heal as effective, that's fine. Let it fly. Let it go, okay? It's okay to overheal sometimes. I overheal a lot. More than most people, because, I use a lot of potions, a lot of dark runes, so I know I have my mana to do it. But don't be afraid to let your heals fly and just have really high uptime.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, don't be afraid to end the fight with no mana. If you still have mana left in your tank at the end of a boss fight, that means you didn't heal as much as you could have.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if there's not enough to heal, that's different. But if there's HPS left on the table, then you could have healed more.
Same thing with damage, though. It's like a warlock. I try to end with complete gassed out. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And the third major lifestyle thing that I tell people is know how much your heals do. This sounds so silly, but back on private servers when I was practicing in dungeons and in raids, I would know how much health everybody has. So I know a mage going into MC has 3 to 3.5k. I know my tanks are going to have 6 to 7 to 8k depending on their buffs, right? I know how much my heal is going to look on his health bar with predictive healing. So I know what rank I need to use. I know if it's time to go to a Holy Light. I know if it's time to down rank. So practice and learn how much each heal does and how much it looks like on somebody's health bar. Because it's going to look different for everybody. Because I'm going to have 4k, the mage is going to have 3k, the tank's going to have 8k. How do I tell between each class and each person how much they need to get healed, right? So this is like a big high level thing. But if you can just immediately distinguish what you need to cast and how much health they're missing, this is one of the biggest things for Holy, is that third tip. So
one thing people always say with the healing too, it's just a nugget that I've heard tossed around a bunch, is that if you are not Holy Spec or deep Holy Spec and you're leveling, right, and you want to heal a dungeon, one of the best things you can do is throw up Blessing of Light and down rank your spells. Why is that? Why is throwing up Blessing of Light and down ranking spells so good?
So it's the same as in the early levels. You don't have a lot of plus healing. So adding a big plus healing boost like Blessing of Light on a target and allowing you to down rank so you can spend your mana more efficiently and still have the same strength of heals, especially for something like Holy Light. Down ranking Holy Light, because Holy Light gets a larger boost from Blessing of Light. So you'll see a lot of people into the 40s and 50s. They'll be using Blessing of Light on the tank and just rank 1 and rank 2 Holy Light, spamming it. It's very cheap. It's slow casts, so you're not worried about...
But those ones are under level 20 though, right? Aren't they? Or wouldn't you use the one that...
No, because it's per level. So at that level, you don't get diminishing return. So at 60, you get diminishing returns on that, but not at that level. So lower rank Holy Lights and lower rank Flashes are still very effective.
At that level you're saying. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay, what ranks heals would you use, though? Like, at that kind of mid-range, 40s, 50s, like, are you literally going to find the rank that's...
my max rank. I would have my max rank Flash, my rank below it Flash, and then, like, a mid-rank Holy Light, so, like, 3 or 4, or 2, even depending if it's lower levels, and then my max rank Holy Light on my bar.
Okay.
And I'm most likely using Flash a lot, and then if I'm really running out of mana, Blessing a Light on the target, I downrank my Holy Light, and then I just kind of effectively pump out those mid-level.
So it's useful to have rank 1 Flash bound, though, right? This is one thing I got to do myself. I don't have that bound
at lower levels, no. Until you get
right now at 60. At 60 right now. At 60.
At 60, yes.
For me.
Okay, you ready? So that's like during leveling healing. For 60 healing, I'll tell you what I have on my bars right now.
For me, I don't have a lot of plus healing, though. But you were saying that if I put up a Holy Light and I use rank 1, I get still at least the max from the coefficient, right? And from the Blessing?
At level 60, no. It's still level 20 at level 60. So
stuff level 20 and above, though, gets their full value from the spell power coefficient.
Yeah, so you'd have to use, I believe it's Holy Light rank 3.
Oh, no, I'm saying Flashlight. My bad. If I was saying Holy Light.
Yes, Flashlight 1.
Flashlight 1.
Flashlight 1, you get full value.
So if I'm healing as a 60 prot Pally with not a whole lot of mana and not a whole lot of plus healing.
Yeah, if you need to, just constantly spam out. Spam out rank 1s like nonstop. It's super effective mana, and you'll still get a decent boost from Blessing of Light.
Yeah. Okay, that's juicy. That's a good takeaway for me, right?
I got 2 more things that pop in my head immediately. Like I was saying. The spells that I have on my bars, and these are the ones that I recommend to everybody, even almost regardless of your gear. Rank 1 Flash of Light, rank 4 Flash of Light, and rank 6 Flash of Light. These are the primary spells that I use. And then for Holy Light, we're talking 5 and 8.
5 and 8. Yo, I gotta write this down though.
5 and 8.
Why though? Why?
Why 5?
Yeah,
5 because it is the first level up from Flash of Light. So I do it in terms of like how much it's going to heal. So I want to have a tool for every amount of missing health. So if I know that my Flash isn't going to top somebody off, and I have time to cast the Holy Light, I'm going to get a lot more value out of it, as opposed to just trying to cast 2 Flash to top somebody off.
Okay.
So 5
5 and 8 and 1 4 6. 5 and 8 for
1 4 6 and 5 and 8. And at higher levels, my Flash is gonna become stronger and stronger, and my Holy Light is gonna scale even harder. So sometimes what I'll do is when we get into AQ40 and you get your new rank of Holy Light, you'll use 9 Holy Light, which you use with Divine Favor and for super big damage, and then I'll actually go back down to 4 Holy Light. because
Okay.
4 Holy Light is now, since it's scaling harder than Flash of
So
Light.
you have 4 Holy Light too? So you have 4, 5, and 8 for Holy Light.
Into like AQ and Nax, when I have way more plus healing than I do now, like 1,000 plus healing, I'll go back down to 4. Actually,
Okay.
It's my intermediate healing spell. And I usually keep when I go back down to 4, I'll usually put 6 on my bars. It's it's like you want to have a healing spell for every like interval of health that's
And you just have to get that spidey sense of like how much it's going to take to chunk them back up.
exactly.
Again.
And that's where the practice comes in, knowing how much you're going to heal on every target and every heal is going to do, you know.
Okay, that's juicy. I got some quick tanking tips. Tanking tips is oftentimes you get into this mindset when you're AoE grinding is you're just trying to conserve your mana as much as possible, right? So you overly use Seal of Wisdom and Judgment of Wisdom. You got to quickly get back into the mindset of, the boss fights in dungeons, when you're doing dungeons at least, aren't that long, so feel free to dump mana. So just like judge on cooldown with Righteousness, and also put up Seal the Crusader. Seal the Crusader, you probably didn't even buy it while leveling that much because you just get like the low rank one gives you enough value. Buy max rank Seal the Crusader. Start the fight. I think the highest tempo, highest threat opening as a tank paladin is to open with Seal of the Crusader. I'm just freestyling right now. I don't know. You preemptively Holy Shield. You drink back up again. You walk in there. You Seal of the Crusader. You judge it. Then you throw Seal of Righteousness and you throw down a Consecrate because you got to catch up in tempo because you just lost your Judgment burst because you use Seal Crusader. So I usually use one Consecrate max rank. Holy Shield falls off. Use another Holy Shield. And just keep pumping those Seal of Righteousnesses into the boss, pretty much. I mean,
absolutely. No, that's for longer boss fights. Like most boss fights are going to last in dungeons about 40 seconds to a minute. It is worth using Seal the Crusader. But on those trash packs, Judge Wisdom, Seal Wisdom, or just use Righteousness if you think you need more threat. I think that's the number one thing that we've learned now in Classic. Seal of Wisdom, gaining mana does generate half threat per point gain.
Seal of Wisdom. So Judgment of Wisdom and Seal of Wisdom both generate threat?
Yes. If you gain mana from a source,
you get
any source directly, so like popping a potion even counts as a threat gain.
Now Seal of Light does not operate in that way?
Seal of Light does, but it's only per the target. So you can't like Seal of Light and then you get a bunch of threat from everyone hitting it. Health. It's essentially like a heal, so self heal. So
Seal of Wisdom and Judgment of Wisdom generate more threat than Seal of Light?
No, it's about the same. It's about the same.
About the same. Okay.
But obviously Wisdom is a lot better because then you have mana to use instead of the health. So actually when I'm tanking dungeons or on trash and stuff, I almost always just Seal Wisdom, Judgment Wisdom on one target and
also the other tanking tip is that when it's a single boss fight, I will use the max rank Holy Shield because you actually want the damage from the Holy Shield. If you're not worried, if you're just trying to pump out as much threat as possible, you get used to using rank 1 Holy Shield to conserve mana all the time when you're on packs, but when you're on a single boss and you're like in Skullomance or something, you're gonna go fight one target, use the max rank Holy Shield. At least personally, that's what I do. Also, a lot of bosses you can Hodge as well, so make sure you get in your Hodge.
There are some at the lower levels you can Hodge.
That's another thing that grinds my gears too, though. When Paladins don't use Hodge on cooldown, like when I don't see Paladins, like if you have a Paladin, he should be Hodging like all the time, man. Like as soon as it's up, pretty much, just finding something useful for it. I don't know, like just so use your Hodge. Make sure everything's on cooldown, like that. Tanking tips. I think that's
at high level, like I was talking about, get a force reactive disc. It's your best friend for the whole game. Paladins are built around block, and it's the best block shield in the game. Skull Flame's really good, but usually too expensive. It's one of the better AoE shields, but get a Crest of Retribution, get an Argent Defender. Those are just as good, to be honest. So, but that definitely an FRD is on 2-3 levels up from any other shield in the game in terms of AoE.
Okay.
So
okay, all right, and last but not least, DPS tips. Do you have any DPS tips? Did you ever chase the Ret Dream once upon a time, Lester, or you never did it?
I chased it, man. I was in that spell Ret. I was one of the first people to start doing it back on private servers, like the true full AP spell or full spell power Ret. I was at the front pack of that, and I think the only tip that I have for Ret is just look into spell power. for so long the game has played such a certain way for paladins. The meta has been changing for us more than almost any other class.
Wait, what do you call him? AP bot or agility? What do you call him?
Well, I'm not gonna say it on stream because some people might take it wrong.
It's all good. All right, it's all good. It's all good.
So yeah, AP ret. It's good. You have high damage, big numbers, but for spell power ret, it's those fast attacks, it's those procs. It's not quite as good as it was on private servers, sadly, but I still think in most parses they're about equal level right now. And as soon as we hit ZG, AQ40, and more of that spell power gear comes rolling in, I'd be pretty confident to say that spell power ret's going to start pulling ahead. Don't be afraid of hybrid. Don't be afraid of spell ret. Look into that stuff.
Let's inspire the people a little bit here, Lestor. With ret, what kind of have you seen any impressive parses up there? You like 400, 500, anything like that?
400, 500. Here, I'll go look. Right now, okay. As far as I know, I think somebody pulled 700 the other day.
On who?
On they were stacking Golemag ads. It was like 700 or 800. I can go look.
Oh, but so on multi-target fights, yeah, multi-target.
On multi-target, yeah. Consecration and Chile is insane on multi. Here, let's go.
Like single target though, you think you can get 400 plus on single target?
Absolutely. There's guys on single target. There's guys pulling like 400 average in MCs.
I mean, and that's if you're not playing at the tippy top echelon of the raiding community with like the huge brain people who go full big pumper try hard mode. That's going to be top. You can be top 5 DPS with those kind of numbers. If for some reason you found yourself in like a semi-hardcore raid,
if you're 300, 400 DPS in like an average raiding guild, you'll be on the top half at least. And I mean, there's some of these. There's some of these guys pulling 500, 600, 700 DPS in Molten Core right now. I just looked. Boom, Hyperial, super well-known guy in the Reddit community. Magmadar, 688 DPS.
Damn, dude.
And I know you're saying like, oh, well, there's warriors pulling like 2K, but we're talking like average guild. I know he's not in like a super try-hard guild. He's like got like a minute kill time on that. That's not like outrageous.
That's what people keep understanding, man. Like, don't understand in my mind. Like, those people that are getting 2K parses, like they're in the most try-hard guild. Like, that's such a small percentage of the community. If you even go down to like the top 10%, okay, so top like 5%, you're going to be up in that area where people are going super hard. But even if you go to the top 10% of guilds, from that 5 to 10%, then the DPS numbers go way down, like way.
If you're
down.
if you're putting up 600-700 DPS in a guild like that, you're still doing excellent.
Yeah, you're still doing excellent for sure.
I don't know. I say I don't count it out.
Don't count it out. You got to try hard as a ret though. You got to get all the spell power consumes and all the attack power consumes. I mean the physical damage consumes. So.
If you don't go full out, that's the one thing you got to try. But there's lots of people out there that do it, and they do it very successfully. So
yeah. All right. Well, I think we got through the agenda, guys. It's been a long one, 3 hours. Oh man, I'm gonna open it up to any questions you guys might have at this point in time. As our last thing, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything we forgot to cover, anything you'd like to know an answer to, or anything. Now's the time to ask it, because we wrapping up here shortly. Question for Lester: if you were to spam dungeons as a holy pally while leveling, would you put points into the holy tree and skip the ret stuff? If you were to spam dungeons,
I answered that. Yes, I did. I actually did that exactly on Classic launch. I was in a dungeon group, pre-planned dungeon group. And I went full utility holy from the start, knowing that I was going to heal from start to finish.
Okay.
Yep.
Full holy from the start. So, yeah, if you're going for that kind of cleave group type thing, absolutely. Yep. Can you talk about Nightfall, Red? What's your perspective on that?
Oh, Nightfall. This is going to be... Phase 3 is going to be real big for Paladins. We get a bit of gear in Blackwing Lair, but the main thing that a lot of guilds will be looking for is a Nightfall Ret. If you didn't know, Nightfall is an axe with a chance to proc 15% spell damage for 6 seconds, something like that. Very, very good axe. Having just one of these in the raid, Paladin can keep up time. I didn't really get to talk about like some of the high-level Paladin stuff, like seal twisting and stuff. But if you want to look into that, look into seal twisting. A Paladin can keep up Nightfall. I think 45-50% uptime by himself with seal twisting. So. If you're looking to get into a guild, have them help you craft a Nightfall, and I promise guilds will love to have a ret with the Nightfall. The added DPS of just having an extra blessing and an extra DPS and an extra huge debuff slot, it's absolutely worth bringing a ret.
Gotcha. Crusader, he's asking about the optimal AoE grinding spots. I don't know if they're the most optimal, but it's really simple, man. You pretty much 41 on the dot, you go Murlocs, Dust Wallow, then you go to the Fire Rocks and Hyenas in Gadget Sand, and then you go to the Oozes in Hinterlands and Skull Rock, then you go to Sorrow Hill and you do the Ghouls and Skellies there, then you finish in Dawson's Tears. That would be the 41 to 60 spiel. I've done it myself, so I can state confidently that it is effective. I don't know, didn't have the most amazing time ever in the world getting to 60, but it definitely was effective, and that's what I would recommend. Are there any good two-handed BOE items to buy and enchant with Fiery Weapon or Crusader if you have lots of gold to burn from a main? Fiery War Axe is what I used. I got that enchanted with Fiery as well. That thing slaps, brother. The Fiery aspect of it can proc off of the whatchamacallit, bro? The Seal of the Crusader, like the holy damage from Seal of Righteousness or Seal of the Crusader can proc the Fiery. Did you know that? Fiery can proc twice. Yep. Can proc twice, so it was.
So can life stealing, lots of on-hit effects. The only thing that doesn't shadow oil and oils, the non-permanent buffs, but yeah, all like weapon hits, Seal of Righteousness will double those up, and Seal of Command always.
If you have a main who's 60 right now, that's even more of a reason to level a Paladin, man. Because if you can funnel your Paladin some gear, oh, buddy, you're going to have such a fun time, dude. I'm telling you right now.
Just like a warrior, you'll just be flying.
You will be flying, dude. You will be flying. Thoughts on the protection talent change? Should Blizzard revert it? I think he's talking about Reckoning. It wasn't. You were saying it was changed back for the better, though, right?
It was kind of. They broke it a little bit. There was problems with it not proccing when you were facing away from the target, or just sometimes like phantom procs where you would get crit and it just wouldn't go off, or you'd start your swing attack and in the little window between your swing and like the swing timer starting and you actually swinging, sometimes it would like phantom hit and you'd lose your reckoning stacks. A lot of that stuff has been fixed in the most recent patch, about a week and a half ago. I know it is still a little inconsistent from what I hear, but it's much better since the most recent patch. So
okay. Well, guys, it's been very real. I have to ask everyone in the chat right now a favor. I hope you guys can come through for me because Lestor, I'm not paying Lestor for this. Lestor is literally just because he's a fucking awesome guy here sharing all this knowledge with you guys. And he's just awesome for doing it, inspiring a generation of Paladins. So if you do enjoy this content, if you enjoyed it, I would just ask you, please go follow him on Twitch. I don't know if you have a YouTube or a Twitter or anything like that, Lestor. And there's also
no, I haven't really streamed too much since private servers, but I want to try to get back into it. So, if you guys ever have Paladin questions and you see me around, come up and ask, and I'll do my thing. And yeah, I also have like my personal Discord.
Discord and the Pally Discord, right?
And the Paladin public Discord. I am the admin of that, so anytime you want to hop in, ask a question in there, you're always welcome.
Okay, so that's the Paladin public Discord, the one I just posted in there. So if you guys are thinking about playing Paladin, what is your Twitch though? By the way, people are asking about it.
It's spelled exactly the same here.
Okay, he's got it right there. That's his Twitch.
Yeah, and then I'll post it in the YouTube as well.
Yeah, he does really like fun stuff too. Like I remember you were doing like weird like types of raid challenges back during private servers were going on and stuff. So he does lots of fun stuff.
We did a 20-man Paladin ZG, that was fun. We did a 5-man Onyxia, 10-man Molten Core, stuff like that back on private servers. All that was real fun. So
we have a lot of people on Twitch right now. 132 people watching. Are you gonna stream? You want to get host or no? Are you gonna?
I'll hop on it. I'll open my OBS here.
Okay, so Lestor is
hopefully it's all set up.
Also, if you want to ask more advanced questions and get my small pea brain out of the way, and you want to go straight to the source, I'm gonna host him. Mm-hmm. He's getting started over here as well. So that's his Twitch. That's his Discord. Let me see if there's any. Let me see if I can get the personal Discord too. He has a personal Discord.
Oh, don't worry about that one.
Okay, don't worry about that one. Okay.
Yeah, I use that one for like pugs and stuff on servers.
Okay. Gotcha. But that's the number one way to support this type of content, guys, just to make it worth their time. So if you could do that for me, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and actually, you can come. I'm going to start the stream. You can come see me watching Scouting Azergos right now.
Scouting Azergos, hitting the ground running with some of the Paladin, and they get to see your Pally in action, huh?
Yeah, dude, I'm out here in the dress and the hammer.
Oh, that's dope.
People love that. The people love when I wear the dress and the hammer at the same time.
Yeah, let me know when you're live, bro. I'll host you, and then we'll
All right, here we go. I'll start. Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer anytime.
Absolutely. It's been real, guys. I certainly learned a lot, and I'm probably going to be streaming a little bit later, too, guys. We have GMA on Tuesday or Thursday. We're doing GMA shortly. I might stream a little bit later, too.
Okay, it should be up.
But, it's up? Okay. We're going to host Lestor, guys. We're signing out here today. This was your ultimate Paladin leveling guide. Hopefully it came through. Hopefully you're able to learn something. I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care. We're going to host Lestor now. Any final words, Lestor?
No, thanks for having me, and hope everyone learned a little bit today.
All right, sounds good.